Spartacus moment. I am Spartacus. I am Spartacus.
Joey, you like movies about gladiators?
Have you ever had an LGBTQ law clerk?
I've not been a judge, so I don't have any law clerks.
Someone working for you.
I'm to be honest, I don't know the sexual orientation of my staff.
When Dick Durbin called me, I had tears of rage when I heard about this experience in that meeting. And for you not to feel that hurt, tears of rage.
Would you just stop being so dramatic?
I'm a big believer that if this country hasn't broken your heart, then you don't love her enough.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
Here's 1 minute with Governor
Charlie Parker in Massachusetts.
I'd certainly put myself on that list. I'm a basketball player. I always was. There's a lot at stake here. This is not a virus to be trifled with or disrespected. Respect the virus. I have a hard time understanding when we're going to be able to play basketball again. We can start talking about a gradual, careful, data-driven, phased reopening. Don't let a few nice days step on that. I need to talk to the Attorney General and find out what the actual parameters of the ruling are. Did this just happen? And the reason I read that story is because I'm a basketball player, and I agree. I was first made aware of the discrepancy on this on the day that the registrar resigned. The vast majority, and I mean like the vast majority of the people who are part of these protests are there to make a point and to make it peacefully. That is so obvious, I'm amazed that anybody could say anything other than that. I would love to be able to open everything up tomorrow. That would be an incredibly irresponsible thing to do.
Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. buyraycon.com/Howie.
I tested positive. Let's use this example of me having it as proof that you can get it too. God forbid, the rest of us should be staying at home for our mothers and the people that we love. And to keep us farther apart will ultimately bring us closer together in this cause. We have to do everything we can to avoid being sick. No matter where the virus goes, the way to stop it will always be the same. Our collective conscientious actions. Staying home. Staying home saves lives. I don't want some jack loser, fat tire biker get in my face and in my...
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
You can lose, and that's acceptable. You lose, you go, and you go wherever you're going, and you go and say, maybe I'll do it again sometime, or maybe I won't, or I'll get back to life. Nothing's more important than sportsmanship. But when you win in a landslide, and they steal it, and it's rigged, it's not acceptable.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
You just said what has gone wrong, so I'm answering the question.
If I could complete the question, though.
So you're going to give a speech, or you're going to ask a question?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Shh. Let me tell you a little story about a man named Shh.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
I hope the 6th, and I want to make sure people understand this. I hope it goes bad.
Because you hate everything?
I want you to see the names. I want you to see the faces, and I want you to remember.
I need names, people.
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
Has Fox News called the Georgia Senate races for the Democrats yet? Are they all high-fiving themselves over there yet? No. Well, it's just a matter of time till that guy comes out again and makes the call. They're looking forward to it.
They've already called Arizona for Warnock and Ossoff. Sorry,
Warsaw.
Joe Biden. Ossoff.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. 844-500-4242. That is the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show. If you'd like to join us here this afternoon, every weekday afternoon, we're waiting for the polls to close in Georgia. Again, the mainstream media and the Democrats, but I repeat myself, are claiming that the early voting gives the Dems the lead. And of course, the late voting by the late Georgia voters, or some of whom didn't exist, period, will be giving them even a bigger edge. So we can only hope that living Georgians get out and vote against these straw men that the Democrats have put forward. The hollow men, that's the word. That's what T.S. Eliot said. The hollow men that they've put forward. The Jew-baiting Reverend Raphael Warnock, who ran over his wife's foot, and that was recorded. The wife's lament was recorded on a police camera. And this guy, Orsop, has got all kinds of skeletons in his closet. He's got a big bleeping trust fund. He looks like he lives in his parents' basement. He's 33 years old. Oh, my goodness. I hope they, I mean, you know, the Republicans are nothing to write home about, but still. Not everybody can be a Ron DeSantis in Florida, that's for sure. 844-500-4242. All right. 508. I just told Grace I'm getting my shot tomorrow at 9:45 at my doctor's office. All I got to do is produce a Florida driver's license, and I'm getting and someone just 508 says H gets a vaccine in Florida before the first responders in Massachusetts. Call Charlie Parker. Recall Charlie Parker. But you have to understand, it's first things first. Charlie Parker wants to make sure the prisoners get the flu shot first. That's the important priority here, you know? 844-500-4242. 917 says, so in America today, it's legal to burn an American flag and illegal to burn a BLM banner. The head of the Proud Boys was arrested yesterday in D.C. and charged with vandalizing a church because they had a BLM banner on it. I think that's the thing. I mean, if you buy an American flag and you burn it, it's your property, so you can burn it. But what the cops, I guess, would say in D.C. is that that BLM banner belonged to somebody else. It didn't belong to the guy that burned it and the guy that they arrested last night. I wanted to just start off with just pointing something out to you. It hasn't gotten enough attention, I don't think. But on Sunday, the House Democrat majority, and it is a very narrow majority, she was elected with 216 votes of the 435 members. And do the math, that means 219 members either weren't there, didn't vote, or they voted against her, and only 216 voted for her. But now that she's been reelected, landslide Nancy Pelosi has proposed to eliminate the words father, mother, son, daughter, brother, sister, and all other language deemed insufficiently gender inclusive from House rules. So they would be replaced with terms like parent, child, sibling, parent's sibling, and so forth. So you can't say mother? Can you say mother bleeper? I mean, have you noticed that the word BS seems to be used in more and more family situations, shall we say? I was thinking about Don Lemon. He was using the phrase for bovine excrement, as they used to say in the Nixon administration, on CNN last night. And then I was reading the New York Post this morning, and AOC was using it in an interview as well. I mean, why do you have to use gutter language like that? I don't quite get it. Anyway, 844-500.
Stop saying that we must respect Trump supporters who believe because it is that you have been feeding them.
Good Lord. 978, careful, Howie. My wife works at a Boston hospital. A handful of her coworkers had reactions to the vaccine, from small, large rashes, headaches that won't go away, and even one had to go to the ER. Be careful. I know. I wasn't in any real rush to get it, but I'm signed up for it, so that's all. Can we 413 wants to know, can we still call Hunter a crackhead? Well, as long as you don't crack. Yeah, I think you can. I don't think that it has any sexual overtones to it, does it? I remember when this whole movement started. They repainted all the doors at the State House. It used to say, if it was like the Committee on Taxation, under it would be your name, and then it would say House Chairman. And then they repainted everything, and you became a House Chair or a Senate Chair. I remember like walking around the State House and thinking, looking at the door, they have these nice frosted glass doors. They're kind of old fashioned, but I like them. And the gilt gold paint on them. And I would look at it and I would say, that's not a chair. That's a door. And if so-and-so is the House Chair, then who is the House table? And then someone wants to know, is husband and wife excluded too? I think that's been excluded for a long time. It's spouse, isn't it? Don't most of the public documents now say, who is this person your spouse? The person you want to call. Is it your spouse or other? I don't think there's any. I think husband and wife have already been expunged from the official language of the bureaucracy. So I don't know where it's going to end, but it's going on beyond that. There's a good column in the New York Post about it today by a woman named Abigail Schreier. She's written a book about transgender, the transgender craze, as she calls it, and she says. It goes beyond this. California's insurance commissioner has now issued a directive to reclassify double mastectomies of healthy breasts from cosmetic procedures to reconstructive, necessary to, quote, correct or repair the abnormal structures of the body caused by congenital defects. So breasts, according to California, are now a congenital defect. I'm not making this up. If you are a woman who wants to be a man, then your breasts are congenital defects. You read that right, says the columnist for the New York Post. The congenital defect is a young woman's healthy breasts, provided that young woman subjectively identifies as non-binary or anything other than woman. Good Lord. 8-4.
All while raising their prices on prescription drugs.
We need some corrective surgery on those prescription jugs, I guess. 508 says, so Fredo is not Andrew's brother anymore? No, he's his sibling. Sibling. I never liked that word sibling, but I've used it on occasion. When I used the word brother or sister earlier in the sentence, but then I had to refer to it again. You don't want to use the same word twice in one sentence. So that's a good fill-in word, but it's only a fill-in word. Why would you use the word sibling when you can make it specific and tell people whether it's a female or a male?
Everywhere I've been hearing all around the country. You're trying your best, but it never feels like enough.
Oh, man. Joe Biden's going to have big problems in this brave new world. What's he going to do when he goes down to make the State of the Union address? What if he makes those kinds of mistakes then? Nancy Pelosi won't just rip up his speech. She'll hit him over the head with a gavel if he says breasts or jugs.
How will they address Dr. Jill in Congress? She's not going to be the first lady anymore.
You know what? That's another good point. She's the first spouse, I guess. Yeah, spouse, sibling. And it's got to be gender inclusive. Parent, child. All right. 844. My pronouns, I've made this clear. My pronouns are he and him. I always like it when they say, they said they were, and then it's obviously a singular person. If someone had said that, if someone had handed that story into me when I was a city editor down in North Carolina, I would have said, this guy's going back to writing obits for a while until he can write a grammatically correct English sentence. Now you'd be drummed out of the newsroom if you put he or she in a sentence without express permission of said person. All right, hit refresh on your dinner routine in 2021 with HelloFresh. Right now, you can take advantage of their limited time New Year's sale and see why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. You get into a rut, even if it's healthy food. You keep making the same things over and over again. On the weekends, you go to the supermarket and you go down the same aisles, buy the same stuff, you cook it, get ready for the week, and it gets boring after a while.
You have a tough time coming up with creative ways to spice up your food, but HelloFresh really does make it easy. And they give you a whole ton of options as to what different types of food you might want to try, or maybe some old traditional favorites with a new twist. They have it all.
Right. And if you learn to like something, maybe it'll make you step out of your rut and go to the supermarket and go into a different aisle to buy something different. It's just, it's convenient, and it'll give you some different options. HelloFresh gives you simple recipes and fresh ingredients sourced directly from growers and delivered to your door contact-free. With more than 23 weekly recipes, there's something for everyone to enjoy, including family-friendly, vegetarian, and low-calorie options. Say goodbye to never-ending meal planning and prepping. HelloFresh recipe cards are easy to follow with simple steps and pictures. You can get meals on the table in as little as 20 minutes. Plus, by skipping the grocery store, you can save up to 40% on groceries. You can cut food waste by 25%. You can save time so you have more time to spend with your loved ones. Go to HelloFresh.com and use code Howie10 for 10 free meals across 4 boxes, including free shipping on your first box, including HelloFresh's New Year's sale. For a limited time only, go to HelloFresh.com and use code Howie10 for those 10 free meals. You won't be sorry you broke up your routine a little bit. HelloFresh.com. I'm Howie Carr.
He's the maestro of microaggression. He's Howie Carr.
Here are some rapid fire questions with Taylor Cormier. What would you eat for your last meal on Earth?
I'm fond of old favorites, childhood favorites. I'd go with my mother's beef and bean pie, followed by, for dessert, my grandmother's recipe for oatmeal cookies and a big glass of milk.
Where is your favorite place to vacation?
Home. I like being home. I like my house. I know where everything is. Yeah, I just like being home.
Favorite Frank Sinatra song to listen to?
It's called Without a Song, and it's on the album I Remember Tommy. It's a tribute to Tommy Dorsey, and it's a very swinging remake of the original orchestration.
Favorite Frank Sinatra song to sing?
My favorite one to sing is One for My Baby and One for the Road. It's a very sad song, but it's somebody coming to the realization that this is the way life is, and they've come to terms with it. And I think it's something that everybody can connect to. It's a great equalizer for everybody in the room.
Hair loss is not one of life's more enjoyable experiences. If you're looking to fill in your hairline or reverse years of hair loss, DiStefano Hair Restoration will create a result that will be a transformative experience. The result of my IGT procedure was quite remarkable. I now have fuller, thicker hair, so I can even wear it a bit longer. There are a few major decisions I've made in my life that I wish I did sooner. My hair restoration is #1. It was by far one of the best moves I've ever made. My hair looks awesome, and the confidence from having a full head of hair again has left me feeling great. I used to look in the mirror and dreaded seeing my ever-increasing bald spot. Now when I look /Howie. What are you waiting for? More hair to fall out? Get the hair you've always wanted. Hairman.com/Howie.
Are we starting to feel bad for Joe Biden? Sorta. Are we going to play his gaffes anyway? Of course.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Now we need to stand behind Jamie Harrison, the next president of the next senator. I'm looking forward to appointing the first African-American woman to the United States Senate. Just like here in California, here in Nevada. Back in the spring, late fall, late spring, late winter, early fall. Anyway, you know what I mean. Look, tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday. I tell you what, I'm rushing ahead, aren't I? We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. It says you cannot have 20, 30, 40, 50 clips in a weapon. We'll see who's sleepy.
Mr. Vice President, thank you.
All right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
All right. It's Chris.
Sometimes I wake up and I think it's 1920 and not 2020.
He tells it like it is.
I want you to know that every human being that works for you knows what a diseased hypocrite you are. We all know what you are.
Howie Carr.
Amen.
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 Stop the hammering. Stop the hammering out there. Who's got a hammer? Where is it? Where's the hammer?
Woman,
Is it on there? Go up on the other floor.
a
Somebody go up
woman.
there and stop the hammering.
Shouldn't we just do away with amen and a woman both, and just bring Representative or Reverend Cleaver back and make him say a person, a human, not a human. You can't say human, but a person. That is a problem too because it has son in it. Should it be per issue, per child? I'm talking to a per child, per issue. Where does it end? Here's a text from 573. Hi, Howie. Traveling from Missouri to D.C. to support Trump and my family. Listening to the Howie Carr Show. Can I get a shout out? Yes, you can. And that's signed J.R., Ty, Nick, Jack, and Buzz. And hope we'll get some satisfaction tomorrow. I'm not confident, honestly. Make 2021 your healthiest year yet with Super Beats Heart Chews. I'm holding up a couple of them right now. They're nice little wrapped in foil, easy to carry, tasty. Get a free 30-day supply of Super Beats Heart Chews plus a free 30-day supply of their new delicious flavor Super Grapes with your first purchase at superbeatsradio.com/Howie. Taylor, what's the poll question? What are the results thus far?
Will Mike Pence throw the election over to the House of Representatives tomorrow?
No, I don't think he will.
53% say no.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Trump, Trump keeps saying, I hope he's going to do the right thing. And, and they keep saying, well, there's big news planned. And Peter Navarro, the president's economic advisor, he's a Boston guy, and he's also a Florida guy. He was saying over the weekend that Trump could remain in office after January 20th if this thing is still up in the air. We tried to get him on today. We haven't heard back from him yet, Taylor?
Not yet.
Okay. I hope we can get him on the air to discuss this because any port in a storm, as they say. 844-500-4242. That's the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show. Somebody else also says, can you put your columns on your Herald columns on the website? It hasn't been updated since December 21st. Please, I won't pay for the Herald. I just talked to Taylor about that today. Taylor will get them up either tonight or tomorrow. All my back columns, and he'll start posting them instead of Grace. Now that Grace has got her own show, she's got other fish to fry, so to speak. 844-500-4242.
Wait, was that you that texted that in?
No, I didn't. No, it's 207.
Okay.
It's right there. It's from Maine. Right. See it? It's right there, Taylor. You have the same text that I have. It's right there.
I don't know all your phone numbers.
No, it's not my phone number. I just started thinking about it. So I just we'll have them up. I wrote some good columns while I was out. I wrote a full complement of columns the 2 weeks I was gone. So they're about 4 4 or 5 columns to put up there because I guess Grace put them up the first week. 844-500-4242. 860 says son and daughter are now called issue. I don't believe that. I don't think that's that. Maybe in a couple of years, but not quite yet. 603 says, so I guess I now live in Chester, New Hampshire. Chester, as opposed to Manchester. You remember D-Day? The Allied troops hit the beach at Normandy, now known as Norpersandy, or Norhumandy.
No, you can't say human. That's got man.
That's right, because it's got man in it too. So that's as bad as Normandy. What are you going to call Normandy?
What are you gonna call manatees? You can't call them humanities.
No, you cannot call them humanities. They've opened up a Pandora's box here, and it's not going to be decided by the chair of the Committee on Ways and Means or Taxation or counties or whatever the chairs are called. What about I think they've been doing away with the word alderman too, haven't they? What do they call aldermen now? Alderpersons? That's really unwieldy. We'll be right back with Grace's News. I'm Howie Carr.
We're all looking for ways to save money, right? How'd you like to keep an extra $961 a year in your pocket? That's how much gaffe customers save per year on average on car and home insurance. This is the time of year we go shopping for insurance, and gaffe takes the pain out of doing it by giving you an apples-to-apples comparison of your current coverage with 40 of the top insurance providers, including Progressive, Nationwide, gabi.com/Howie. gabi.com/Howie.
This is going to sound immodest, but I'm obviously a top tier candidate.
You want me to do the morning minute?
I've had a lot of titles over my career, and certainly vice president will be great, but Mamala will always be the one that means the most. They said, well, do you think Trump is responsible for what happened? And I said, well, look, I mean, obviously he didn't pull the trigger, but...
Okay.
Hold on, Howie. Go ahead.
Today is the day. Your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally meant rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no-obligation investment guide about protecting your future with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300.
And now, 1 minute of Nancy Pelosi.
It is a bill that is much needed for our farmers and ranchers. I think there are only 47 votes against it in the House of Representatives. The American people should know the source of it. Again, we are engaged in the year-end continuing resolution Homeland Security. I'm not sure. No, I haven't spoken to him since he called the other day, which was a very amicable conversation. Amiable, I guess you would say, not amicable. And I talked to Chuck last night to say, we haven't had an answer. There are other things that are going on that are newsworthy, and I think you'd have more viewers or readers if people address concerns that people have. The list goes on about
Joe Biden's plagiarizing prowess proves one thing: he's been stealing all his life.
Why is it that Joe Biden is the first in his family ever to go to a university?
Why am I the first kid in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Glenys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
No, it's not because they weren't as smart.
Does anybody really think that they didn't get what we had because they didn't have the talent?
It's not because they didn't work as hard.
Or the strength, or the endurance, or the commitment. Of course not.
It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
It was because there was no platform upon which they could stand.
I should have said, to paraphrase Neil Kinnock, it's the only time I didn't, and all the times I've ever used it.
Come on, man.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
Somebody points out on the text line, how long have you been saying in-person square? A long time. In-person square. Some people call it Inman Square in Cambridge. You and the city fathers of Cambridge were way ahead of your time. Surely you meant to say the city parents of Cambridge and myself were way ahead of our time. 617 says, my buddy was an alderman in Melrose. He is now a city councilor. Melrose is fast gaining ground on Cambridge and Somerville. I'd prefer to be an alderman than a city councilor. I don't like being a counselor. It makes me sound like I'm giving somebody instruction. Oh, I don't know that you can get into Williams College, Sonny. Maybe you should.
It makes me think of Cape Fear when he says, counselor, counselor.
Some people spell counselor wrong, too. They spell it like counselor, a lawyer, as opposed to counselor, a politician. Joining us now is Grace for Grace's News.
Hello, Howie. Thank you so much for having me on today. I know you have a lot to get to, so I just wanted to run a few stories by you. Obviously, the Kamala Harris story is really picking up steam on Twitter. She is the Alec Baldwin of the day, her fake news story. And Howie, I don't know if you saw this. Now they're finding cuts of her telling this story on late night shows,
really?
And on interviews. Yes, I just saw it on Twitter, so I'll send it to Matt and he can pull it for you. Yeah, she's told this story, different details for each version, which is a real good sign that a story is probably fake. But yeah, she's told it on these shows before.
Well, the stroller, though, is a fairly recent entry, though, right? The stroller?
Yes, that was a late involvement in the story.
An embellishment of sorts.
But Howie, are you amazed? Because I know that when Joe Biden did this in 1987, that it was bad and he plagiarized and he got in trouble for it. But it was probably a little bit trickier for people to figure out because, Google wasn't around and people couldn't just, put something in. Now, if you type in something and it seems similar to something that's already been said, Google will tell you that. So right. The fact that she was going around in books and in interviews telling this story, are you surprised by that?
I don't know. I mean, I was just thinking when you were speaking about how involved it was to get the story about Joe Biden and Neil Kinnock out. The Dukakis people got the videotape of Neil Kinnock, and then they got the videotape of Biden, and then they had to take it and transfer it onto a cassette. And then they put the cassette in the mail, and they sent a guy out to Iowa to mail it, to drop it into a box so it wouldn't have a Boston postmark on it. I mean, that's pretty complicated. Now you could do it in like 5 seconds, right? From a dummy account.
No, right. And there was a story today in Powerline blog by this guy, Paul Maringoff, and he was saying basically who's smarter, Kamala or Joe? And he said, I think Kamala's smarter because at least she picked MLK Jr. Joe Biden just plagiarized a British hack politician. At least she picked somebody good.
But, you know, the thing is, too, it wasn't just Kinnock. I mean, that's what he got busted on because that was the best one, especially since he was from a foreign country. But he also stole Bobby Kennedy lines. You know, some of the stuff that's on YouTube has the lines that he stole from Bobby Kennedy in 1968.
And how he recently stole something from the Green New Deal. Remember, he put out that climate change initiative, and people started looking into the pamphlet, and there was words taken from the Green New Deal, or it was taken from some other operation that was not his.
Wasn't he almost thrown out of University of Syracuse University Law School because he plagiarized as well? I mean, this is a recurring pattern with him.
As fate would have it, Howie and Grace, I cut a few new pieces for the loop today, and they were both the Kinnock and the Kennedy.
Okay, there you go. Let's hear it.
Dare we play it?
Let's hear it.
Joe Biden's plagiarizing prowess proves one thing: he's been stealing all his life.
Let us pledge that our generation of Americans will pay any price. We shall pay any price. Bear any burden. Bear any burden. Accept any challenge and meet any hardship. Meet any hardship. To secure the blessings of prosperity and the promise of opportunity for our children. To assure the survival and the success of liberty.
But this standard is not a measure of how we can evaluate the condition of our society. It cannot measure the health of our children.
If the gross national product does not allow for the health of our children.
The quality of our education.
The quality of their education.
The joy of their play.
For the joy of their play.
Come on, man.
Very good. I have to say.
Oh, man.
I have to give him credit, though, Howie, because he was probably tempted in both those situations to put on the accent, and he didn't. He resisted. So, in that sense...
You know, though, Grace, I put on the accent enough for both of us.
Why don't you give us one?
Boy, the first Biden in 1,000 generations.
Beautiful, beautiful job. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I find it amazing that the arrogance of these Democrats that they don't think anyone's going to care. And I mean, to a certain extent, no one will. We'll talk about it here, and people on Twitter will talk about it. But she'll never, not that she would ever take any questions, but she'll never be asked about it either way from any of the press people that are on her list. Howie, I have another story that I thought you might be interested in. A new study came out from United Van Lines.
Yes.
A moving company, and they have the top 10 states that people are moving into, and then the top 10 states that people are moving out of. And you're never going to guess the states people are moving out of, Howie. You're never, it's going to blow your mind.
Illinois, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, California.
Wow.
Did I hit a few?
Yeah, but you missed one of the big ones.
What's that?
I'll give you a hint. Phil Murphy.
Jersey.
New Jersey.
The Garden State.
Yeah, New Jersey's actually been on the list for a really long time. For the last 3 years, it's been number one, I think. And the states people are moving into, Idaho, South Carolina, South Dakota, Florida, you know, where all the credulous boomer rubes are. That's where everyone's moving.
That's right. Where the governor is letting the counties decide how they're going to give out the vaccines. And CNN is pretty angry about that.
Have you played that yet, Howie? I stepped out.
Let's play it.
Okay, so this is CNN's Rosa Flores, and she was asking, where she was lecturing Governor Ron DeSantis from Florida about the lines that she's seeing outside hospitals, and he had the audacity to ask her a question back.
Governor, what has gone wrong with the rollout of the vaccine that we've seen phone lines jammed, websites crashing?
There's a lot of demand. I mean, I think at the end of the day, excuse me.
If I could finish my question.
You just said what has gone wrong, so I'm answering the question.
If I could complete the question, though.
So you're going to give a speech or you're going to ask a question?
With all due respect, Governor,
you asked the question, I'm going to answer it.
I'm trying to finish my question.
You're giving a speech. You asked the question.
I am trying to ask you
You're going to ask how many questions? You get 3? They only got 1 question. Why do you get 3?
With all due respect, Governor, I'm just asking if I could finish my question.
You didn't. You finished the question.
With all due respect, you're a really bad reporter, whatever your name is.
Howie, isn't it amazing, though, how they all have that same whininess to their voice? The way they talk to Ron DeSantis is almost identical to how they talk to President Trump. Excuse me. With all due respect, sir. They're so smug.
And he gets that Trump treatment a lot, even from the local newspapers down here in Florida. And they always ask him, well, why is the rate so high? And he doesn't say, why don't you look on the charts, the national charts, because they're obviously not going to do that, and see that we have half the death rate of, I don't know, New York, California, Massachusetts. He doesn't say that. What he's been saying, I think I've mentioned this before, is sometimes he says, if we're doing such a bad job, how come more people are moving to Florida than any other state in the union, except for maybe Texas?
Well, that was the beauty of this when Senator Ted Cruz was on. I think it was Ted Cruz, but I might be mistaken. Was on with Fredo Cuomo, and someone said, "Hey, Fredo, I'm not gonna. You really shouldn't make it seem like these deaths are on anybody's hands, because people could say the same thing about your brother Andrew Cuomo." And he got so flustered. He was the same thing, like played the victim. How dare you? Try to blame my brother. But I totally agree.
How dare you?
There's a second part of that cut that I will play, but first I wanted to let everyone know that Grace's News is brought to you by Tux Trucks GMC. There is snow on the ground, at least where I live. I know not in Fui, America, where Howie is, but there is snow on the ground here. You want to get a Tux truck, you want to get a Fisher plow, call 1-800-MY-TRUCK. It's time for a new Fisher snowplow or spreader from Tux Trucks. And the best part is you can get one and they'll hook it all up for you. You just drive right off the lot and you have nothing to worry about. Visit tuxtrucksgmc.com and get a Fisher. You will not regret it. And let's play that second half of that cut. This is Rosa Flores from CNN being today's hero. Oh, sorry. You know what, Howie? I'll stick that in today's clips. We play the second part.
Okay, get that, because it goes on, and it's just it's so ridiculous. And then afterwards, Wolf Blitzer and Scudo, who's a Obama hack, resurrected on CNN. They were talking about how brave she was and how tough her questions were. They were just stupid.
Yamiche, Alcindor. She's the new Yamiche. # we stand with Rosa Flores. She'll probably get a book deal by tomorrow. It's insane how they make these people into such icons for just being pains in the butts. Howie, we have the second cut.
I did not. My full question is, what went wrong with the rollout of the vaccine when we've seen phone lines jammed, websites
So you're
crashing?
repeating your question.
To complete it for you, Governor, we've seen websites crash and also senior citizens waiting overnight for the vaccine.
Where was that at?
We've seen it in Duval, Broward, Orange, and Lee County.
And why was in Lee? Why did that happen? Did you investigate why?
That's my question to you, Governor. You're the governor of the state. I'm not the governor of the state.
Okay, but you didn't investigate why that in Lee County. Why was there a big line? Did you investigate why?
Could you tell us why?
Because we distributed vaccine to hospitals, and the hospital said, first come, first serve. If you show up, we'll do it. So they didn't use a registration system. There wasn't anything that was done, and there's a lot of demand for it. So people are going to want to go ahead and get it.
There was no plan then from the state to make sure that senior citizens didn't wait outside overnight?
So the state is not dictating to hospitals we're not dictating to Carlos Magoya how he runs his operations here. That would be a total disaster. These guys are much more competent to be able to deliver healthcare services than a state government could ever be.
And Howie, it's kind of one time John Hinderaker said it on the show. He said they're playing dumb, and it's so much worse than that. The way they ask these questions, it's so obvious what they're trying to get across. And I love when someone calls them out on it.
Right. And they would never think of asking a question like that to Charlie Baker or Andrew Cuomo. Has Charlie Baker ever been asking, Governor, you keep talking about getting the vaccine to the nursing home patients first, right after you get it to the prisoners. But what about all the people that you killed in those nursing homes?
Don't know.
No, they like to ask him, have you gotten your first haircut yet? What are your plans for Thanksgiving?
Right. Yeah.
What do you think about the Patriots?
Don't know.
It's just ridiculous. Rosa.
All right, Howie, that's all I got.
Rosa Flores. Thank you, Grace. And again, listen to Grace's show. It's on WRKO and the Benny news stations in New Hampshire from 1 to 3 in New Hampshire and noon to 3 on WRKO in Boston. It's great stuff. Grace is doing a great job.
Thanks.
Thank you. My friends at Eden Pure have done it again. Starting today, you can get the Thunderstorm Air Purifier. The Thunderstorm Air Purifier. I don't know where it went here today, but it's I got it. Usually I have it in my hand. Oh, here it is. Here it is. It's
so small you had a tough time finding it.
That's right. It was behind the computer. You can get the Thunderstorm Air Purifier at the lowest price offered to my listeners. With code word Howie, the Thunderstorm is available for under $90 and shipping is free. This New Year's sale is for 1 week only while supplies last. The Thunderstorm is a small device, as you can see. You can hold it in your hand like I'm doing, plug it into the wall to purify the air from any odor. It could be pet odor, kitchen smells, tobacco, or that damp smell lingering in your basement. No filters are needed, and comparable units can start at $600. I've seen those in my doctor's offices and asked myself, why didn't they order the Thunderstorm? The Thunderstorm takes up no floor space and is quiet. Take advantage of this 1 week only sale and experience for yourself what all the listeners have been raving about. Go to EdenPure.com and put in code word Howie. That's EdenPure.com, code word Howie. Shipping is free. I'm Howie Carr.
Keep it here, chumps. More Howie Carr after this.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you today in part by Nauset Beach Inn. Open this winter for the first time in 63 years. You could open up the lines, I guess.
Their Ocean View room rate while rooms are still available. Low price available only at NausetBeachInn.com.
I tested positive. Let's use this example of me having it as proof that you can get it too. God forbid, the rest of us should be staying at home for our mothers and the people that we love. And to keep us farther apart will ultimately bring us closer together in this cause. We have to do everything we can to avoid being sick. No matter where the virus goes, the way to stop it will always be the same. Our collective conscientious actions. Staying home. Staying home saves lives. I don't want some jack loser, fat tire biker get in my face and in my space and talk to me. I don't want to hear it. Right here is the official re-entry from the basement.
You're a phony. Hey, this guy's a great big phony.
Cleared by CDC. A little sweaty.
Your columns are up on the site, Howie.
Oh, they're up? Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem.
For a while now, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, why Super Beets? You could take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I take them twice a day, once in the morning when I get up, even before I have my first cup of coffee, and the other time in the afternoon, right before the show. It gives me a burst of energy. It's great for my blood pressure. It's good for circulation. It just makes you feel better. If that doesn't convince you, we can talk about the science behind Super Beets. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow. And better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and even supports healthy blood pressure. But Super Beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just one scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beets yourself. I don't see them. www.superbeetsradio.com/
Scroll down. Scroll down.
Oh, I see. Okay. So the first one is still up there. Okay. I got it. Okay. But it's the top thing. You just got to scroll down. Okay. I got it.
I think it's really important to capture kids when they're in high school, which was a very amicable.
And Grace is on YouTube, right?
Of course she is.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I thought she was. I thought I was watching her today. I just want to make sure before I
I think she has a different experience in the use of words. That's not the total package, but there are some of the major points of discussion, I would hope, from sea to shining sea, because they are not getting paid 163. Was it 163 Republicans voted no. Wisdom from the kitchen of the Willard Hotel. Yes, ma'am. The president either doesn't know what he's talking about or doesn't want to know what he's talking about.
Either I'm dead right or I'm crazy. You wouldn't care to put that to a vote, would you, Senator?
The Howie Carr Show.
My columns from the break are now up on the website. Just scroll down. The lead column is still at the top, but all the columns just go right down. And there's a picture of Andrew Lelling, the U.S. attorney, the Mass State Police logo, a picture of the unindicted co-conspirator with Charlie Parker, et cetera, et cetera. But they're all there. So if you haven't been reading my columns for the last couple of weeks, because they're behind a paywall at the Herald, they're up there now. And I'll have another good column tomorrow too. I got a payroll today, and I came up with a real gem. I'll tell you about it later. That's my tease. I'll tell you about it in a couple of weeks. Bruce from the Met says, is Grace on the YouTube like you? Yes, she is, Grace. Yes. 917 says, those aren't questions. They're always indictments. But indictments are sort of, they're structured. They're sober indictments, charges, accusations. These are more like harangues. This is like some street person screaming at you to get right with Jesus. She's just screaming. It's not, there's no question there. She's just yelling at the guy. And again, if he had said, well, we put the same policy has to be in effect from Pensacola to Key West, they would say, well, you can't, how dare you do that for one state? You can't do that. There are different populations in different parts of the state. It doesn't matter. They're just going after him. It's like Trump wants to put the U.S. embassy in Israel in Jerusalem. Trump doesn't want to put how dare he do A, B, C, whatever he wants. It's a mistake, right? Ed, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Ed.
Hi, Howie. I was in Daytona Beach last night. Got my vaccination this morning, and there was no people complaining in the line. I talked to a lot of them. They're all out hanging around. And it was cold outside. It was down to 41 degrees, and everybody slept in their cars. I'm lucky I have a van, so I had lots of room. But there was no complaining there.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I'm a little bit south of you, Ed. I don't hear any complaining. I mean, there are 22 million people in Florida. I mean, not everybody is going to be happy, but it's not like there's a big problem here. I just reading the social media, I find more people PO'd in Massachusetts just because of the fact that the prisoners are getting the shots first. Thanks for the call, Nick, for confirming my suspicions. Ed, Nick, go ahead.
Hey, Howie, tomorrow, of course, they'll have that momentous occasion where there's going to be the confrontation between the profiles and cowardice of the Congress and the Senate versus 20 or 30 senators and congressmen are going to do the right thing.
Well, I think there's going to be more than that. I think there's like 140 House members that are going to do the right thing. But I think maybe 13 of the Republican senators, 50 of them, are going to do the right. Maybe it's up to 15 now. But you're right; it'll mainly be profiles and cowardice. And if Pence doesn't throw the results from the corrupted elections in those various states, if he doesn't throw them out, he'll be a front runner for the Profiles and Courage Award. He'll be the token Republican who gets the Profiles and Courage Award once every 10 years. Do you text Grace the same way as you? Yes, you do. Howie 63566. Howie 63566. I'm Howie Carr. Nauset Beach Inn is open for the first time this winter. Take advantage of their ocean view room rate of only $100. All rooms have 2 queen beds, and they're pet-friendly, too. Nauset Beach Inn is the only hotel on the Cape Cod National Seashore. Contact-free check-in and check-out. Don't hesitate. These rooms go fast. Reserve now at nausetbeachinn.com. That's nausetbeachinn.com.
Alexander Hamilton said, "Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything." This is Toby from Cape Gunworks. When our founding fathers drafted the Second Amendment, there was no question of its meaning. Today, if you have questions, come to Cape Gunworks for some advice, training, or to send a few rounds downrange. We have a fully stocked pro shop with a huge selection of guns, crossbows, archery, classes, rentals, 15-lane range, and a friendly staff. Come on down to Cape Gunworks, Airport Road, Hyannis, or capegunworks.com.
The Moonbats always say Donald Trump isn't very bright. But what about Barack Hussein Obama? Let's listen to some of his greatest hits.
I've now been in 57 states. I think one left to go. I don't know what the term is in Austrian. The Cambridge police acted stupidly.
And there has never been any man or woman more qualified for this office than Hillary Clinton.
There are neighborhoods around the country where it is easier for a 12 or 13-year-old to purchase a gun and cheaper than it is for them to get a book. I believe in the Second Amendment. It's there written on the paper.
If we fall for, a bunch of okey doke.
A few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia, not Al Qaeda. You said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back.
This is Charlie Baker.
Hey, everybody. Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker here.
And these are his friends.
I can't tell you how many times in the past couple of months, somebody I know has told me a story.
In the world of Charlie Baker and his friends, the real world of panic porn, political leaders cannot survive without absolute power. And the public can't be expected to blindly follow orders without first hearing a made-up story.
Somebody I know has told me a story about how they got it, and it all goes back every single time to some informal gathering where nobody wore masks, nobody kept their distance, and the virus spread.
It's a confusing, nonsensical, follow-the-science world. But it's the only world they know.
I mean, it's pretty common at this point that that's where a big piece of this is coming from.
And they're the only friends Charlie Baker has.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. buyraycon.com/Howie.
There are plenty of differences between Trump and the Democrats running for 2020. But the main one is Trump's pretty funny. Take a listen.
What advice would you give to the 25-year-old Donald Trump knowing what you know today?
Don't run for president. I'm not a drinker. I can honestly say I never had a beer in my life, okay? It's one of my only good traits. I don't drink. Whenever they're looking for something good, I say, I never had a glass of alcohol. I've never had alcohol. Can you imagine if I had? What a mess I'd be. I'd be the world's worst. Other countries, big countries, India and others, we had to pay because they considered them a growing country. They were a growing country. So what are we? Are we allowed to grow too? Okay. So are we allowed to grow?
I try like hell to hide that bald spot, folks. I work harder. Doesn't look bad. Hey, we're hanging in.
I should have saved the Pocahontas thing for another year because I've destroyed her political career and now I won't get a chance to run against her, and I would have loved it. I don't want to knock out all of the good stuff and end up with somebody that's actually got talent. That would be terrible.
Whether it's global warming global cooling or climate change, one thing's for certain, the progressive moonbats can't stop talking about it.
We're talking about cities all over the world, major cities going underwater.
You know, I've spent a lot of time now with these young students, and they're scared. And a lot of young people are even suffering from, they're calling it extinction illness.
So that we can have people here who truly are committed to climate change, believe in climate change as though it's a religion. It's not.
Yes.
Did you see there's a text here of all the great old movies? Mr. Smith Goes to Washington is never replayed during this whole vote corruption issue. Can you see or have Matt see if there's any cuts there that might be appropriate?
Sure.
Cancer is environmentally caused.
Recognizing and acknowledging the link between animal agriculture and climate change is a very bold move, making tonight plant-based.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
Here's 1 minute of getting to know Jared Diglio. What would be your last meal on Earth?
Pizza. Cheese pizza. Just regular cheese pizza.
What drink are you going to have with your pizza?
I gotta go Coke. You gotta go Coke with pizza. It's the perfect combination.
Where's your favorite vacation spot?
I'm a staycation kind of guy. I like just staying in my place, but if I had to go to a destination, I love Italy, especially Rome.
If you could live in any state besides Massachusetts, which one would you choose?
Nevada. Wide open land. People leave you alone. Plus, it's not that far from Vegas or LA.
If you weren't in radio, what profession would you be in?
Gigolo.
Favorite comic book character?
Spider-Man. He's been my favorite since I was a kid. He's the most identifiable of the superheroes. He's just kind of a normal guy who's got a lot of problems, but he's got to overcome it and save the day.
Favorite Star Trek character?
I love TNG, but I got to go with James T. Kirk.
Dogs or cats?
Neither.
McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's.
Ice cream or cake?
Ice cream.
Sweet or salty?
Sweet.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Hair loss is not one of life's more enjoyable experiences. If you're looking to fill in your hairline or reverse years of hair loss, DiStefano Hair Restoration will create a result that will be a transformative experience. The result of my IGT procedure was quite remarkable. I now have fuller, thicker hair, so I can even wear it a bit longer. There are a few major decisions I've made in my life that I wish I did sooner. My hair restoration is number one. It was by far one of the best moves I've ever made. My hair looks awesome, and the confidence from having a full head of hair again has left me feeling great. I used to look in the mirror and dreaded seeing my ever-increasing bald spot. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see the new me with a full head of thick hair. For information on how to make the same choice I did, go to hairman.com/Howie. What are you waiting for? More hair to fall out? Get the hair you've always wanted. Hairman.com/Howie.
They're outlandish, they're outrageous, and they're hypocrites. They're the women of The View.
Bernie was so menschy in that moment, like a real guy. I actually am aroused by him.
Timothy McVeigh was a Christian. Just saying. Hitler was a Christian. Well, he didn't like the Catholics.
Trump needs to be medicated and hospitalized at this point, or he is going to just kill all of us.
I mean, do we have to wait till the hammer and sickle is on the American flag before we stand up to this guy?
Joy, you've worn blackface.
I did not go in blackface, please.
No, she was not in blackface.
Thank you.
It was a Halloween party. I went as a beautiful African woman.
Did you have tanning lotion on,
A
Joy?
little, I had makeup that was a little bit...
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
You can lose, and that's acceptable. You lose, you go, and you go wherever you're going, and you go and say, maybe I'll do it again sometime, or maybe I won't, or I'll get back to life.
Nothing's more important than sportsmanship.
But when you win in a landslide, and they steal it, and it's rigged, it's not acceptable.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
You just said what has gone wrong, so I'm answering the question.
If I could complete the question, though.
So you're going to give a speech, or you're going to ask a question?
Knock. Who's there? Shh. Let me tell you a little story about a man named Shh.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
I hope the 6th, and I want to make sure people understand this. I hope it goes bad.
Because you hate everything?
I want you to see the names. I want you to see the faces, and I want you to remember.
I need names, people.
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will in this crisis shrink from the service of their country, but he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of men and women. Tyranny like hell is not easily conquered, yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods, and it would be strange indeed that so celestial an article as freedom should be not highly rated. That's The Sunshine. That's The Crisis by Thomas Paine. And tomorrow is the day. Tomorrow is the time that we'll try Mike Pence's soul for sure. He's got to make the decision what he's going to do. 844-500-4242. Welcome to the Howie Carr Show. Here's another quote from Thomas Paine. The real man, he meant to say persons, of course. The real man smiles in trouble, gathers strength from distress, and grows brave by reflection. I hope so. 844-500-4242. I got another call here from another text from Florida. And he says, no, that's, the only thing we heard is that where he's in Port St. Lucie, he says the only thing we heard was that they had a problem getting a line through to make an appointment. They had to call 5 or 6 times. Yeah, that's, yeah. Reports of the problems in Florida, like reports of the death of Bond girl Tanya Roberts, are overrated.
Not anymore.
Exaggerated. What?
Not anymore. She's dead.
She's dead now?
Yeah, she died today. I hate to sound so...
They jumped the gun?
They jumped the gun and then it fired.
Is it COVID? Did they blame it on COVID? Everything else gets blamed on COVID.
I'm not sure. I didn't see that in the headlines. But, I mean, that wouldn't be in the headline if you were reported dead a day earlier, lived, and then died the next day.
Wow. All right.
Just another story of a person bending to the fake news media to make it true.
844-500-4242. 207. Excuse my ignorance, but why wouldn't Pence man up? Because he doesn't wish to, or he might not. I can't read his mind. He might not wish to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, as another famous writer once penned. William Shakespeare, 413. You say that Mike Pence needs to make up his mind and decide what he's going to do. I'm 100% certain he's already made it up. Time will tell. But can you imagine 2 Republican seats saved tomorrow, and then the election goes to the House? Talk about rising from the ashes. I hope you're right, and I hope they save these seats. James O'Keefe from Project Veritas is out with more videos about some of the people in Atlanta, and they've been registering people. I don't know if they're real people or if they're just names, but they're registering some people out of I guess they're claiming they're homeless people, and they're allowing them to register out of this homeless shelter, which I guess a violation of Georgia law and just common sense and decency. But this is the director of this left-wing group, Cut 16.
So we allow them to use our address if they register to vote and to get Georgia state ID, because you have to have proof of residence. And so although we're not a shelter, we do allow them to use 201 Washington Street. Okay. So I can't even begin to tell you how many people have that address on their ID. And we've never run into
Hundreds,
any problem
thousands.
with that until this election.
What kind of person? I'm really not being judgmental here, but how can you be an adult and not have any forms of identification? If not a driver's license, something else, a credit card, perhaps a social security card, a library card, anything. How can these people be walking around with nothing to identify themselves? It doesn't seem very likely to me. How many people do you know have no IDs? I don't know anybody. All right. 844-500-4242. We're going to take some calls on this. Trump was down in Georgia last night. I thought it was 7 o'clock. I mentioned it on the air, but it was actually 9 o'clock. I'd seen it at 9 o'clock and 7 o'clock, but 7 o'clock seemed more logical to me. 9 seemed late, but that's when he got down there. And, again, he's being ripped apart, saying, he didn't really stay on message, which is to get out the vote. But he did stay on message. He said it's really, really a problem if we lose these two Senate seats, because there's not going to be any way to stop them from doing whatever they want to do, which is whether it's abolishing the Electoral College, making D.C. and Puerto Rico states, which gives them 4 extra Democrats in the Senate, make it harder to retake the Senate or retain control of the Senate. They could lower the voting age to 16. They could open the borders and just have a flood of more welfare recipients crossing the border. Welfare recipients who test positive for COVID-19. They're very concerned about COVID-19, but only in the American population. They want to let in all the illegal aliens who have a higher rate than the American population. We're going to be talking more about that later on in the show. 844-500. 4242. 617 says, please explain what power you think Pence actually has. I think you're wrong. The vice president can't toss the results of the election. I'm not sure he can or not. I think there's conflicting legal opinions on that. And some of the laws that are written are rather ambiguous. So I'm not sure he can do it. And that could be his fallback position, that he doesn't have the right to toss the corrupted slates. And I don't know what happens if can he declare Trump the winner if he says there's actually only 460 electoral votes rather than 540. And so Donald Trump has a majority, 236 to 232 for Biden. So therefore he's the president, or does it get tossed to the House of Representatives? I don't know. I think it's a long shot, though, and unfortunately. All right. 844-500-4242.
Howie, we've got some new unearthed audio of Kamala Harris telling her freedom story on 2 occasions.
Now, is this freedom or is it feedom?
This is freedom. She said freedom. Martin Luther King Jr. said freedom. Okay,
I was just wondering if she changed it around as time went on. Again, these stories are embellished with time. People who were scrubs on their high school football team become all conference 10, 20 years down the road, right? They become starters on the team as the memories grow dimmer. Other people's memories grow dimmer. You still remember you were a scrub, but you think you can get away with it. Okay, so let's hear it.
Here she is on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon back in June.
Out there protesting.
Well, I was in a stroller. And so I was out there. And in fact, my mother used to have a very funny story about I was fussing and she said, Kamala, what do you want? And I said, and this is how she would say it. And she said, Kamala, what do you want? And I said, freedom.
No. Oh, come on. Freedom.
It was a much cuter story when she would tell it, but that's the story she told.
But I mean, do you think that's when you get instilled?
So it wasn't at a civil rights demonstration. She was just being wheeled around the neighborhood, right? Is that what she was saying?
She said it was at some sort of a march, right?
I didn't hear that part of it.
Well, I was in a stroller. And so I was out there. And in fact, my mother used to have a very funny story. But
it was the caption says she said it. She was at a civil rights march. That's not where the cut picks up. So she has the old standby. That's the story that was handed down to me by my parents, my mother.
Papa told her that story.
Papa.
And
here she is. Yeah. Here she is back in June. This is at some sort of conference that was.
Now, does she have a cackle here? It really can't be a proper story about freedom unless there's a cackle at the end.
We'll find out together, Howie.
And there are some funny stories. I was just sharing with someone backstage. So I witnessed this as I write about in the book. From my stroller's eye view, and there's a funny family story about how. So my mother's marching with the extended family. I talk about like Aunt Mary and
Marching.
Uncle Freddie in the book. And she would tell the story about how, so they're marching. And this is back when strollers didn't really have armrests and seatbelts.
When was that?
So they're marching away and, you know, shouting and all of that. And then I think it was my Uncle Freddie, you know, looked down and looked in the stroller, which was empty, and said, "Where's Kamala?" And apparently they left me like a block behind. I'd fallen out the stroller. There you go. And then my mother would tell a funny story about how, like, one day and I was fussing and you know, and so I'm fussing and fussing. It's much cuter when she would tell the story, but she'd say, so then she would look down at me and, Kamala, what do you want? What do you want? And I looked back up at her and I said, freedom.
So now in that version, it's two separate instances, right?
Yeah.
That's very weird.
And it's not a moment of freedom. She's not that little girl on the bus. It's just some crazy thing a kid says. And by the way, one of my kids once fell out of a stroller. It actually fell down the steps.
Did you not notice right away?
Onto concrete. And, you know, I don't laugh about it because she was all cut up. It was horrible. It's not fun for a little kid to fall out of a stroller. I could say, and you know what? It was my daughter Carolyn. She did not yell "freedom" when she fell down out of the stroller. You know what she did? Ah! Ah! Oh. Freedom. Okay. All right. Every new year, all you hear is "New Year, New Me." That usually means you'll be picking up better habits or trying new things. And if you do take up a new habit, it's even better when you have amazing audio that will make the experience even better. That's why I recommend wireless earbuds from Raycon. I'm continuing my new tradition of trying to go for a bike ride at dawn, about 2 or 3 miles. It's flat land. And I like to do it. I like to watch the sunrise. I like to get the exercise, see the intercoastal waterway. And it's really great, though, when I have my own music to listen to. And that's where Raycon comes in. Whether you're following along to directions in the kitchen, binging an audiobook while learning to knit, or powering through a new workout with a pumped-up playlist in your ear, a pair of Raycons can make any activity easier and a better time. It makes it better. Whatever you're doing, it makes it better to have those Raycon earbuds. Raycon makes great sound accessible to everyone. Their wireless earbuds start at half the price of other premium audio brands. And guess what? If you think having white stems dangling out of your ears looks ridiculous, that's something you don't have to worry about with Raycons. They come in a range of stylish colorways, but always with a comfortable in-ear fit for a more discreet look. And they don't just look great. Raycons perform wherever you take them with up to 6 hours of playtime, water and sweat-resistant construction, and Bluetooth that pairs quickly and seamlessly. You've heard me say this all before, so if you still don't have a pair of Raycons, I've really got to wonder why. You're missing out. Raycon's offering 15% off all their products for my listeners, and here's what you got to do to get it. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's it. You'll get 15% off your entire Raycon order, so feel free to grab a pair and a spare. That's 15% off at buyraycon.com/Howie. Buyraycon.com/Howie. I'm Howie Carr.
Born in Maine, made in Massachusetts, and now a resident of the Sunshine State, Howie Carr, the original carpetbagger.
Here are some rapid-fire questions with Taylor Cormier. If you had to live in a state besides Massachusetts, which would you choose?
Montana. No question about it. When is the last time you've heard of anything happening in Montana? The answer is you haven't. It's quiet. Nobody's going to bother you in Montana.
If you weren't a radio guy, what profession would you be in?
My number one dream job is to be an antique dealer. You know, like the American Pickers. I would love that job. Going through people's old garbage and junk and trying to find that diamond in the rough, and you're always learning as you go. It's a lot of fun to watch, and I think that's why I go antiquing on the weekends.
What is your favorite color?
Blue.
What's your favorite TV show?
The Honeymooners. Jackie Gleason is the most hilarious person on television ever.
What is your favorite soda?
I'm not a big soda guy. It's got to be a special occasion for me to drink soda, but I'm partial to Dr. Pepper.
Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever, is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally met rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no-obligation investment guide about protecting your future with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300.
Remember the boy who cried wolf? I call this one the press that cried Hitler.
The president is not only racist, he's a bigot, but he is completely un-American. He is behaving like a fascist.
This is the president, once again, just thumping his chest and acting like he is the dictator that I think he wants to be.
The president of the United States is a wannabe dictator with authoritarian tendencies.
This is exactly what authoritarians do. This is what strongmen do. This is what happens in authoritarian regimes.
We have a president with a strong authoritarian personality.
Like a dictator from another nation.
People that grew up in authoritarian regimes, seeing echoes of that in President Trump. He likes these figures like Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un. This is more the actions of a dictator.
He totally wants to be a dictator. It's so obvious. Much like Hitler took over the Nazi Party, Trump has taken over the Republican Party.
He went full Hitler.
Trump is as destructive a person in this century as Hitler, Stalin, and Mao were in the last century.
It's simply a Stalinist phrase, for God's sake.
He sounded not like a president of the United States. He actually sounded like Saddam Hussein.
He's not here to make nice.
Enemy to those who make him an enemy. Friend to those who have no friend.
The Howie Carr Show.
6:03, Bruce from the Met says, the Beatles sound awesome on my Raycons. Everybody sounds awesome on Raycons. It's really a good system, and it's makes a lot of fun to.
If the Raycons can make the Beatles sound good, then they've got to be good.
Now. Watch it. Make 2021 your healthiest year yet with Super Beets Heart Chews. Get a free 30-day supply. Look at them there. They're wrapped in foil like candy, and they taste great, and they're good for you. Get a 30-day free supply of Super Beets Heart Chews, plus a free 30-day supply of their new delicious flavor, Super Grapes, with your first purchase at superbeatsradio.com/Howie. That's superbeatsradio.com/Howie. Taylor, what's the poll question? What are the results thus far?
Will Mike Pence throw the election over to the House of Representatives tomorrow?
I don't think so.
Now 58% say no.
All right. 844-500-4242. There was a horrific hit and run in Charlestown today around City Square. There was a hit. Pedestrian was killed by a driver, and they've located the quote unquote vehicle of interest now. And that reminds me of a story we talked about yesterday. There was an ex-con in San Francisco, who last week. He ran over two women who were crossing in a crosswalk, killed them both. And he was apparently driving under the influence. He had a gun in the car or drugs. He's been arrested like multiple times, and the DA had never locked him up. They could have put him away for the rest of his life under the 3 strikes you're out rule. And so they did a little research into this guy who shouldn't have been out and was driving drunk and committing all kinds of crimes. And he's the new DA in San Francisco is a guy whose parents were radicals. They were radical weathermen, and he was raised by guardians because his parents were in prison for their terrorist crimes. And so he comes out and becomes he was a public defender. And they did some digging. So one of the newspapers in San Francisco, I think it was the Chronicle, did some digging into the background of this guy who killed the 2 pedestrians and shouldn't have been out on the street. Actually, should have been doing life in prison. Guess who his public defender was back in the day? The district attorney. The district attorney who had declined to prosecute him on the 3 strikes and you're out law in California. And he lets this guy out, and he kills 2 pedestrians, 2 female pedestrians. And then they run him down. One of the TV stations runs him down, and he blames the parole board for it. And that had nothing to do with it. And then he says, then later when he gets called on it, he says, I'm sorry if you misunderstood me. I didn't mean to say the parole board. We have the videotape. Good Lord. There's just so much crap going on. And how about Joe Biden? Remember when Joe Biden talked about sending social workers out, cut 14?
More assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them from having to use force.
Not a 911 call, a 9/11 call. Well, in L.A. over the weekend, they sent out a psychologist to a social worker to a violent event. A weekend assault, according to NBC Los Angeles, left a 25-year-old counselor dead and 6 people 18 years old and under in custody on suspicion of murder, sheriff's officials reported Monday. So much for sending a psychologist out to do a policeman's job. I'm Howie Carr.
Like most companies, we here at Matthews Brothers are pretty proud of our website. Not so proud that we go around asking total strangers to visit it or anything like that, but...
Howie, no charges being filed against any of the police officers in Kenosha.
In Kenosha? Oh, good.
Yeah, no charges.
We'd be like the visualizer, and you'd be like, what the heck's a visualizer? And then we'd tell you, the visualizer is this nifty little application that allows you to completely remodel the exterior of your house. Play with different colors and styles to design the virtual home of your dreams. You'll have hours of fun this winter creating such visual masterpieces as a spruce green window with barn red sash and gray 4.5-inch banded casing and historic sill nosing. Then, once the thrill of that is worn off, you can play with the roofing and siding. You can learn more about our wicked awesome Maine-made windows and doors, but only at Better Lumber Yards and Window Professionals, or on the web at MatthewsBrothers.com. Matthews Brothers with 1 T, America's oldest window manufacturer.
Joe Biden's plagiarizing prowess proves one thing: he's been stealing all his life.
Why is it that Joe Biden is the first in his family ever to go to a university?
Why am I the first Kinnick in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Glenys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
No, it's not because they weren't as smart.
Does anybody really think that they didn't get what we had because they didn't have the talent?
It's not because they didn't work as hard.
Or the strength, or the endurance, or the commitment. Of course not.
It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
It was because there was no platform upon which they could stand.
I should have said, to paraphrase Neil Kinnock, it's the only time I didn't, and all the times I've ever used it.
Come on, man.
You've been hearing me talk about super beets for a while now, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, why super beets? You could take it from me. The benefits of super beets are incredible. I take them twice a day, once in the morning when I get up, even before I have my first cup of coffee, and the other time in the afternoon, right before the show. It gives me a burst of energy. It's great for my blood pressure. It's good for circulation. It just makes you feel better. If that doesn't convince you, we can talk about the science behind super beets. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and even supports healthy blood pressure. But Super Beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just one scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beets yourself. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie.
200 moms, dads, sons, daughters, grandparents who are no longer with us. I think it's up to 30,000 people have died. Over 600,000 dead, 600 plus thousand people.
60,000.
660. We're in the middle of a pandemic that had cost us more than 85,000 jobs, lives of millions of people. And now we have over 120 million dead from COVID. 200 million people have died. 205 million people, 1,000 people. 210,000 people have died. 4 million existing billion, 500,000. 50,000. A class of 25, you end up having 2 classes of 12, for example. But you know, in the 2020 census, which is now 2 censuses ago, the Oval, back in May 9th, 2019, a $15 million, or $15,000, $15 minimum wage. I got to the Senate 180 years ago. 200 moms, dads, sons, daughters, grandparents who are no longer with us. I think it's up to 30,000 people have died. Over 600,000 dead, 600 plus thousand people.
60,000.
660. We're in the middle of a pandemic that had cost us more than 85,000 jobs, lives of millions of people. Now we have over 120 million dead from COVID. 200 million people have died. 205 million people, 1,000 people. 210,000 people have died. 4 million existing billion, 500,000. 50,000. A class of 25, you end up having 2 classes of 12, for example. But you know, in the 2020 census, which is now 2 censuses ago, the Oval, back in May 9th, 2019, a $15 million, or $15,000, $15 minimum wage. I got to the Senate.
Can you give me a coffee?
Years ago.
Another coffee. Thanks.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
The district attorney in Kenosha, Wisconsin, just announced that the officer who shot Jacob Blake, that set off those riots, will not face charges. That was a wise decision. He resisted arrest. Jacob Blake was shot 7 times, and he's paralyzed now. He's alive, but he's paralyzed. Let's see. Tuesday, I'm reading now from CNN. Tuesday's announcement comes as anger continues to mount across the country at the repeated deaths of black people at the hands of police. There was a story in the Washington Post on, I think, New Year's Day, that 41 unarmed Americans, or people in the United States, were killed by law enforcement officers in 2020. 41. Which is the exact same number as those who were killed by lightning strikes. And of the 41, I forget what the actual numbers were for blacks, but 17 of the 41 were white males. So I'm guessing they were the plurality of people killed by police officers. And there have been studies showing that you're more likely, an unarmed white man who's interacting with the police is more likely to be shot than a black male in recent years anyway. But, now they're bracing for protests, also known as looting, and in many cases, certainly. 844-500-4242. That's the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show. Let's play before we go to the phone lines. We're going to take a lot of calls in this segment, but this is Trump in Georgia talking about what's going to happen next. Cut 4.
You watch what happens over the next couple of weeks. You watch what's going to come out. Watch what's going to be revealed. You watch.
Couple of weeks. The inauguration is coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow. We got to get this thing done. We tried to get Peter Navarro, the White House trade advisor, on. He was on another network on the weekend, and he said that the date of the inauguration day could be changed. It could be changed, actually, Navarro said. We can go past that date. We can go past that date if we need to, and we have got to get this right. We need to take the election back for the people. I don't know if it's. I don't know if that's true or not. There's apparently. Section 1 of the 20th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution states the terms of the president and vice president shall end at noon on the 20th day of January, and the terms of their successors shall then begin. So I don't know what Navarro was talking about, and apparently they don't want him talking anymore about this because they haven't responded to our calls. We've had him on the show a couple of times. He's a great guest, but we don't have him. Anyway, 844-500-4242. Jane, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Jane. You there?
Hello?
Hi, go ahead.
Yes. Hi, I want to talk about Kamala Harris. She thinks everything is funny. What kind of a BP do you think she's going to be?
She's going to be very exasperating. Can you imagine having to listen to that cackle for the next 4 years, Jane?
She's awful.
Yeah.
She is just awful. She's not a serious person at all. And as far as Biden, I watched him go up the stairs. I think it was last night when he was in Georgia.
Yeah.
He could just barely make it up the stairs.
I know. And he was basically, I don't know if it was illegal what he said. I don't think it was, but it wasn't. It didn't come across well when he said, "You vote for those Democrats, and you'll be getting your $2,000 check." I mean, it was kind of an attempt to buy votes, wasn't it, Jane?
Yes, it was. It was a very gray area.
I don't understand what he's. What. I don't understand how he could even steal the election, or what he didn't steal it. The election was stolen for him because he's not capable of anything. And the thing is, you say, well, who's going to be running the country? Is it going to be the vice president? She's not smart enough to run the country either. Neither of them are. I mean, one of them is. Oh my God. Oh, I'm with you, Jane. I can't take it. Lee, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Lee.
I think Kamala Harris jumped from the stroller and was yelling freedom, trying to crawl away from her parents. That's what I think.
I don't know. How do you make up a story like that and think you're going to get? I answer my own question. She's a Democrat. It's like Elizabeth Warren. Can you imagine her again? I overuse the phrase, "Can you imagine?" But can you imagine a Republican saying, "Yeah, I'm part Indian"? "Oh, Senator, how do you know you're part Indian?" "Oh, I have high cheekbones, like all the Indians do." Imagine that? No, I don't think that's going to happen. 844.
My Aunt B has walked by that picture at least 1,000 times, remarked that her father, my papa, had high cheekbones like all of the Indians do.
Like all of the Indians do. Like all of the Indians do. 844-500-4242. That's the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show. Joe, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Joe.
Yes, Howie, how are you?
Good.
Listen, I got a very good friend of mine who wants to come down and see you down in Florida. His name is Charlie Faker. He's looking forward to seeing you down in the sunlight.
I don't know. I think he goes on ski vacations in the winter. He's kind of a beautiful person that way. I think he likes to go out to Park City. That's where his fellow Rhino governor, former governor Mitt Romney lives. That's where the beautiful people congregate in Utah. I think that's where he was. Wasn't that when the panic started? I believe that's where he was. 844-500-4242. That is the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show. Imagine if Hillary were president and Kamala was the VP, both of them cackling. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't even want to think about that. That's a terrible thought. I shouldn't have read that text. Mary, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Mary.
Hi. First of all, she wasn't politically correct because she said Indians instead of Native Americans. But that's not my point. The point is if can you imagine if Trump and his vice president acted like Biden and Kamala, we wouldn't be allowed to even run for the presidency.
Oh, I know.
If it was reversed.
I know. It's yeah. The whole thing is, imagine if they had Trump on tape talking about how he shook down a foreign government and threatened them with loss of $1 billion in foreign aid if they didn't drop the investigation of the company that employed Don Jr. or Eric, his son, for a no-show $80,000 a month job. Imagine if they had on tape, like the Ukrainian situation I just referenced.
12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
And Hunter got his check for $80,000 the next month, just as planned. Imagine if they had that on Trump. Imagine if they had Trump talking about he had set up the most extensive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics. Do you think they would just say, oh,
we're in a situation where we have put together, and you guys did it for our administration, the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
Oh, you can't hold that against Joe. Everybody knows he's senile. He didn't know what he's saying. He didn't know what he was saying when he was talking about getting that prosecutor fired. An extortionate act from a racketeering enterprise like the Biden crime family. He didn't know what he was talking about. You can't hold anything Joe says against him. It's like saying 250 million are dead from the COVID-19. 844-500-4242. Byron, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Byron.
Hi, Howie. First time caller. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
I've listened to several talk shows, including yours last week, and the concern about the Swalwell representative and the need to take him off of the Intelligence Committee. Well, the real question I feel, or the real subject matter, is the gentleman should be removed from the House of Representatives, not taken off some Intelligence Committee, because what's going on, what he's doing, he shouldn't even be in the House of Representatives. And nobody, it shouldn't matter party, who it is. It's that kind of stuff. She's a known spy, and number one, they're still leaving him on the Intelligence Committee. He shouldn't be in the House of Representatives, if you ask me, period.
I agree. But, Byron, he has immunity. And you know what the immunity is? He has a D after his name. So being a Democrat means never having to say you're sorry. It means never having to say not guilty, Your Honor, in a court of law. They can get away with anything. How about Dianne Feinstein? She had a Chinese spy as her driver for 20 years. 20 years. And she was on the Intelligence Committee too, the senator from California, who now they're saying is not quite as sharp as she used to be at the age of 87 years young. Thanks for the call, Byron. But you know as well as I do, Eric Swalwell is going nowhere. The good news is he's not going to the Senate either, because they have to give her seat to a Hispanic. Gavin Newsom has already said that. And of course, Willie Brown, who doesn't much like his ex-girlfriend, Kamala Harris, he's very angry about that because he says that seat belongs to a black woman, or at least somebody who's black, or somebody who says he or she is black. Yes, I'm in sunny Florida, but when Charlotte and Tina visited me for Christmas, we had a cold snap. They couldn't get the heat working at their Airbnb. But guess what? You guessed it. I had the Gen 40 heater. I'm holding it up now here on the air. The Gen 40 heater. It's great. And they plugged it right in, and the apartment became toasty warm, even though it's not a tremendously large heater. You may have thought that buying the Gen 40 heater was a way to save money, and that's a good plan. But if you thought about buying it as an insurance policy also for when your furnace breaks down, it can take days to get a repairman into your house. But wouldn't you like
Howie,
to?
I didn't have to buy mine because you're so generous. You lent your daughters your Gen 40 heater. You lent me your Gen 40 heater up here in Massachusetts. And now we've moved our son into his own room. So just like your daughters, if the furnace goes out, if we run out of oil or something, the guy didn't come on time, we know that we have the Gen 40 heater keeping our son warm, and we don't have to worry about it.
That's me. I spread good cheer wherever I go. And Gen 40 heaters. I'm so happy I had the Gen 40 heater on hand, not just for Taylor, but also for my own kids. And you should have one too. My friends at Eden Pure have a new portable infrared heater that lets you turn down your thermostat but keeps your family warm and comfortable. It's called the Eden Pure Gen 40 heater. It makes you feel warmer than your furnace, and it also costs less to run, saving you money every month. The Eden Pure Gen 40 will pay for itself in a matter of weeks. Go to EdenPure.com and put in code word Howie Carr to get $50 off the sales price. That's EdenPure.com and use code word Howie Carr for an extra $50 off. Eden Pure Gen 40. Never be cold again. I'm Howie Carr.
He's the guru of craft. It's Howie Carr.
And now, a minute of wisdom from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Millennials and people and Gen Z and all these folks that come after us are looking up, and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it? And this is the war. This is our World War II. I think that there's a lot of people more concerned about being precisely, factually, and semantically correct than about being morally right.
Thank you. But being factually correct is important.
It's absolutely important.
And if we work our butts off to make sure that we take back all three chambers of Congress, all three chambers of government, the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2020, we can't start working in 2020.
Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. Buyraycon.com/Howie.
Here's 1 minute with Governor
Charlie Parker in Massachusetts.
I'd certainly put myself on that list. I'm a basketball player. I always was. There's a lot at stake here. This is not a virus to be trifled with or disrespected. Respect the virus. I have a hard time understanding when we're going to be able to play basketball again. We can start talking about a gradual, careful, data-driven, phased reopening. Don't let a few nice days step on that. I need to talk to the Attorney General and find out what the actual parameters of the ruling are. Did this just happen? And the reason I read that story is because I'm a basketball player, and I agree. I was first made aware of the discrepancy on this on the day that the registrar resigned. The vast majority, and I mean like the vast majority of the people who are part of these protests are there to make a point and to make it peacefully. That is so obvious, I'm amazed that anybody could say anything other than that. I would love to be able to open everything up tomorrow. That would be an incredibly irresponsible thing to do.
Badges? We ain't got no badges. We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Howie Carr is back.
774 says, to Byron's point, the listeners should know that if the average security clearance holder were caught in the situation Swalwell was, this clearance would be revoked immediately. The person would be fired and they would be in jail with no bail, serious jail time at that. I remember we talked with a guy who was from Vermont. He was a sailor and he was on a nuclear submarine, and he just decided to take some pictures to send back to his family in Vermont. And somehow, I think this was during the Obama years, and somehow the government got a hold of the pictures, and they said he was taking photographs of himself in a high security area on the nuclear submarine. And this guy was actually put in prison, literally in the brig. We talked to him on the air one time because he was, one of our WVMT listeners. We talked to him. And I think he got a pardon, but he actually spent some time in jail. And again, he wasn't consorting with a Chinese spy. He was just sending it home to his parents or his girlfriend. Jesse, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Jesse.
Hey, how you doing, Howie?
Good.
Long-time listener. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you. Thanks for calling.
I've been listening to the talk shows all day, and the one question I've been looking to hear is what's going to happen if, by chance, we lose these seats in Georgia tomorrow. What's going to be our next step as far as like the Trump administration? What's going to happen? Where do you think what do you think they're going to try and do?
Well,
in order to
I mean, again, they could do anything. If they control the Senate and the House and the presidency, they can do whatever the hell they please. Look what they did in 2009 when they had control of everything. That's when we got Obamacare. That's when millions of people lost their health insurance policies, where they did, despite what Obama said, they lost their doctor. They lost their bad apple health care plan, as he called it. They didn't get a $2,500 cut. I mean, God only knows what's going to happen. It's very scary. I mean, and it's out of our hands. There's a headline in the New York Post has summed it up today. War and Peach. What's at stake? And they're just saying it really is the fate of the country. Maybe not for all time. I don't want to overstate it, but it's going to be very difficult for taxpayers and for regular normal Americans like most of us. Warnock. The pastor said in a 2016 sermon that America needs to repent for its worship of whiteness. In 2018, that's just 2 years ago, nativism and ethnocentrism, 3 years ago, and bigotry are in high places on both sides of the Atlantic. He was arrested for obstructing an investigation into suspected child abuse at a camp he ran in Maryland in 2002, though the charges were later dropped. Ossoff, or as Biden calls him, Ossoff, claims to be a moderate, but he supports raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour and is in favor of statehood for D.C. and Puerto Rico. The 33-year-old CEO of a quote-unquote documentary production company, his main talent seems to be fundraising from out of state. These guys, I think Trump's right, that this Kemp and Raffensperger, they took a solidly Republican state and they were just petrified of Stacey Abrams. And they let her run roughshod over them. And rewrite the voter laws unconstitutionally without any approval or disapproval from the legislature. And now you have this terrible situation that we're in tonight. And they're saying nation braces for long wait. That's a headline. Let me change that. Nation braces for more stolen elections. That's what the nation is bracing for at this moment. I'm Howie Carr. My friends at Eden Pure have done it again. Starting today, you can get the Thunderstorm air purifier at the lowest price offered to my listeners. With code word Howie, the Thunderstorm is available for under $90 and shipping is free. This New Year's sale is for 1 week only and while supplies last. The Thunderstorm is a small device you can hold in your hand and plug into the wall to purify the air from any odor. This could be pet odor, kitchen smells, tobacco, or that damp smell lingering in your basement. No filters are needed, and comparable units can start at $600. I've seen them in my doctor's offices and ask myself why they don't order the Thunderstorm. The Thunderstorm doesn't take up floor space and it's quiet. Take advantage of this 1 week only sale and experience for yourself what all my listeners are raving about. Go to EdenPure.com and put in code word Howie. That's EdenPure.com, code word Howie. Shipping is free.
The coronavirus has made our lives unpredictable, but one thing you can always count on, the White House press corps will always ask President Trump ridiculous questions.
Question, Mr. President, should Americans have to decide between staying healthy and going back to work?
Hey, just checking on oil again today. I was wondering.
Oil?
Yeah.
Where is it today?
Well, I was wondering if you...
No, where's the price? Give me the price.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
How can you ask a question when you don't know the price?
I'll look it up for you.
Okay, let me do something else. When you say the Americans were scared, though, I guess nearly 200 dead, 14,000 who are sick, millions, as you witnessed, who are scared right now. What do you say to Americans who are watching you right now who are scared?
Well, where did he come from, the Inspector General? What's his name?
It came from the Inspector General report. I don't know his name.
Some of your allies have been bashing these doctors. Would you tell them to cut it out?
Today you tweeted the invisible enemy will soon be in full retreat. Given it's invisible without widespread testing, how would you know?
And now, 1 minute of Nancy Pelosi.
It is a bill that is much needed for our farmers and ranchers. I think there are only 47 votes against it in the House of Representatives. The American people should know the source of it. Again, we are engaged in the year-end continuing resolution, Homeland Security. I'm not sure. No, I haven't spoken to him since he called the other day, which was a very amicable conversation. Amiable, I guess you would say, not amicable. And I talked to Chuck last night to say, we haven't had an answer. There are other things that are going on that are newsworthy, and I think you'd have more viewers or readers if people address concerns that people have. The list goes on about the
Taylor.
I got it. I'll get the cuts.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
Hair loss is not one of life's more enjoyable experiences. If you're looking to fill in your hairline or reverse years of hair loss, DiStefano Hair Restoration will create a result that will be a transformative experience. The result of my IGT procedure was quite remarkable. I now have fuller, thicker hair so I can even wear it a bit longer. There are a few major decisions I've made in my life that I wish I did sooner. My hair restoration is number one. It was by far one of the best moves I've ever made. My hair looks awesome, and the confidence from having a full head of hair again has left me feeling great. I used to look in the mirror and dreaded seeing my ever-increasing bald spot. Now when I look in the mirror, I see the new me with a full head of thick hair. For information on how to make the same choice I did, go to hairman.com/Howie. What are you waiting for? More hair to fall out? Get the hair you've always wanted. Hairman.com/Howie.
Joe Biden's plagiarizing prowess proves one thing: he's been stealing all his life.
Why is it that Joe Biden is the first in his family ever to go to a university?
Why am I the first connect in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Glennis the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
No, it's not because they weren't as smart.
Does anybody really think that they didn't get what we had because they didn't have the talent?
It's not because they didn't work as hard.
Or the strength, or the endurance, or the commitment. Of course not.
It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
It was because there was no platform upon which they could stand.
I should have said, to paraphrase Neil Kinnock, it's the only time I didn't, and all the times I've ever used it.
Come on, man.
This is Charlie Baker.
Hey, everybody. Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker here.
And these are his friends.
I may not make it through this story. And I told a story about a fisherman that I met in New Bedford. He's coming off the boat. He was a big, huge man, completely soaked in sweat and salt water.
In the world of Charlie Baker and his friends, the real world of panic porn, political leaders cannot survive without absolute power. And the public can't be expected to blindly follow orders without first hearing a made-up story.
And he started to cry, and I gave him a hug. He was a big, huge guy. It was like hugging a mountain. And then he said, "See those two kids up there?" And he said, "Those are my sons." They were both spectacular football players at New Bedford High School who were given college scholarships, and they ruined their lives. And you hear those kinds of stories every day.
And they're the only friends Charlie Baker has. You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
We are now, effective today, requiring all counties to close their indoor activities, their indoor operations in the following sectors: restaurants, wineries, tasting rooms. A few weeks ago, I was asked to go to a friend's 50th birthday. I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up.
Stay at home as much as possible. Put those social gatherings on hold, including extra care for Thanksgiving.
Denver's mayor told you to stay home for Thanksgiving, then he got on a flight to go see family out of state.
Some people calling Supervisor Kuehl a hypocrite. Now, on November 24th, she voted to ban outdoor dining, and on the very same day, she was spotted eating out.
I take responsibility for trusting the word of a neighborhood salon that I've been to over the years. As it turns out, it was a setup. So I take responsibility for falling for a setup. This salon owes me an apology. What they do.
Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally met rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no-obligation investment guide about protecting your future with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300.
Normally, we give Fredo Cuomo a lot of attention, but lately it's Governor Andrew Cuomo who's been grabbing headlines. Let's take a listen to some of his best moments.
You're an essential worker, so go take a job as an essential worker.
But the people aren't hiring because of the
No, there are people hiring. You can get a job as an essential worker. So now you can go to work and you can be an essential worker and you're not going to kill anyone. The number is down because we brought the number down. God did not do that. Fate did not do that. Destiny did not do that. We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great. Because I can all see you're in masterful shape, buff even. It has a very
better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
You can lose, and that's acceptable. You lose, you go, and you go wherever you're going, and you go and say, maybe I'll do it again sometime, or maybe I won't, or I'll get back to life. Nothing's more important than sportsmanship. But when you win in a landslide, and they steal it, and it's rigged, it's not acceptable.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
You just said what has gone wrong, so I'm answering the question.
If I could complete the question, though.
So you're going to give a speech, or you're going to ask a question?
Knock. Who's there? Shh. Let me tell you a little story about a man named Shh.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
I hope the 6th, and I want to make sure people understand this. I hope it goes bad.
Because you hate everything?
I want you to see the names. I want you to see the faces, and I want you to remember.
I need names, people.
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
I'm just looking at the front page of the New York Post online. Alec and Hilaria Baldwin are very upset over Spanish heritage scandal report. Tone-deaf Hilaria and Alec Baldwin think they're the victims in her Spanish heritage debacle, whining that the scandal has been a lot for her, a new report says.
You mean mucho?
Oh, it has been grande. Scandal. Hillary is such a soft-spoken, kind, caring, and loving person, and the harassment and hate that she has been receiving on social media has been a lot for her, a source told Entertainment Tonight. Yeah, ask that guy who was injured at her yoga parlor. He's eating out on Long Island, and she and Alec come up to him and start screaming at him after he wins a lawsuit against her, after his leg's cut up, and he has thousands of dollars in medical bills. And she says, "You traumatized me by suing me," after, her broken glass in her studio cut the veins in his left leg. She's a victim. One of my favorite Shakespeare quotes, you've heard me use it before, from Julius Caesar. Sometimes, dear Brutus, the fault is not in the stars, but in ourselves, that we are underlings. Time now for the chump line.
For the closing prayer the other day, they said amen and a woman. What about the other 5,427 genders?
I thought there were only 57, or was it 73?
Can we still call Joe Biden big guy?
Is John Roberts going to administer the oath of office? Big guy. Or is it Joseph Robinette Biden Jr.? The Chump Line is brought to you by Matthews Brothers, America's oldest window manufacturer. This week, remembering Jerry Marsden from Jerry and the Pacemakers, who reminded us, when you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone.
Can anyone tell me what I'm supposed to call a female letter carrier? Is it male woman, a female man, or a female woman?
That's a good point. The New York Post columnist mentioned mailman in there about how people have fun, like the caller just did with it. But I don't know what you. How about postal carrier, firefighter? At first, I thought firemen didn't just want to be called firemen anymore, but now I realize that it has to do with the gender neutrality of the word firefighter. Like, you can't be a policeman anymore. You've got to be a police officer. And people have been texting me all afternoon saying that aldermen all across the country are now city councilors. That's kind of a. I thought counselor was an honorific term for attorneys, usually. I mean, I know it can be used for the city council, but board of aldermen, it seems more more ham and egg, more blue collar to me. I'd rather be an alderman than a city councilor.
Hi, Howie. Governor Patrick calling. Wow, you really need to update your Twitter profile. Not only do you need to add your preferred pronouns, but you also need to put in your preferred prayer concluding word. Instead of, "ah, man," I think you should put down, "ah, feminine bridge player." We're going to be fine.
There used to be a preacher that I listened to when I lived in North Carolina, and he used to shout, he used to always say, "Can somebody shout amen?" That's what I'm going with. I'm not going to say amen and a woman. I'm going to just say, "Can somebody shout amen?"
You know, I have always been a congenital defect man.
It's not mail carrier anymore. It's letter carriers, I'm informed. And the selectmen have become the select board. I think that's what they call them in Wellesley, the select board. That's what they always would say. When we'd go to town meeting, I was on the town meeting. Town meeting member, that's okay. That was never a town meeting man. It was always a member. And they'd say to us, town meeting members, the select board is here tonight. Okay. They're bored. Are they bored? B-O-R-E-D? Okay.
I guess we don't have any foreign interference in our elections. The Democrats take care of that.
Actually, there was a guy, Eugene Robinson from MSNBC and the Washington Post. He's a terrible columnist and a worst guest. He was listen to this sound cut. Cut 19.
Country in a way that Vladimir Putin hasn't been able to do, that Xi Jinping hasn't been able to do, that the Ayatollahs in Iran have not been able to do. The serial killer is inside the house.
So he's comparing the Republicans to the Chinese who've killed millions of their own, to the Russians who, incidentally, I guess Eugene Robinson doesn't realize they have a lower gross domestic product than the state of California, even in its current humbled state with Gavin Newsom as the governor. And I guess the Republicans have produced more improvised explosive devices, IEDs, that have killed more American servicemen than the Iranians did.
Joe Biden, almost 50 years being the clown in Washington. Now he's just a joke.
Yeah, but he got more votes than anyone in the history of the United States. And we're supposed to believe the election was on the level.
You're going to go get your vaccination, but the only way you can get it is by producing a Florida license. You know what? Why do you need a license to get a vaccination? You don't need a license to vote.
I've thought the same thing myself, and I'm sure that argument is being made down at the firehouse where the firefighters are in the town of Palm Beach, because that's where they're giving out the vaccines. And I'm sure that a lot of people with New York and other out-of-state licenses, New Jersey, Massachusetts, are going down there and saying the exact same thing. Why do I need a license to get this vaccine? But they do, apparently. I wonder if they're backing away. That's one reason why I was willing to go to my own doctor and pay like a little service charge to get the vaccine, so I wouldn't have to listen to the wailing and lamentations of all the people from without Florida driver's licenses.
You know what they say, Howie? Freedom isn't free.
I got to remember that one. Freedom. Eternal vigilance is the price of, it's liberty, not. Eternal vigilance is the price of freedom. Freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose.
What do you mean I can't say, "come on, man," anymore? What dark-faced one-horse pony soldier came up with that rule?
207 has informed me that it is now lobster person, not lobster man anymore.
Howie, Governor LePage calling. Can you believe that Alec Baldwin claims to be a Spaniard? That'd be like some guy from Portland who pronounces words like restaurant and Tuesday claiming to be a Mainer. Maybe we should call you Howlaria.
Well, Hilaria said that she was born in Spain and didn't come to the country till she was 19. And it turns out, I guess, her birth certificate is on file at Boston City Hall. My birth certificate, as I've always told you, is on file at Portland City Hall. Feel free to go down and check it out for yourself.
That was your last chump line message. Thank you for calling Howie Carr, you chump.
That's it for the Chump Line today. The Chump Line is the recorded voicemail message service of the Howie Carr Show. You can call anytime between the hours of 1 and 4 p.m. Eastern and leave your message. We may or may not play it at this time each weekday. Call 1-844-500-4242. Press 2 for the Chump Line. Leave your message. We may or may not play it at this time. Or we might turn it into a podcast. Every evening around 7 o'clock, we post our podcast, Chopped Chumps, the Chump Line messages that didn't make it onto the airwaves. Get your Chopped Chumps wherever you get your Howie Carr Show and Grace Curley Show podcasts, for that matter. The Chump Line is brought to you by Matthews Brothers, America's oldest window manufacturer. This week, remembering Jerry Marsden from Jerry and the Pacemakers, who reminded us, when you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone.
Can anyone tell me what I'm supposed to call a female letter carrier? Is it male woman, a female man, or a female woman?
Somebody wants to know, if you're going to call them letter carriers, why letters when a lot of what they're delivering now is packages? But package has sort of a male connotation in some slang way, so I guess you can't call them a package carrier. I could go on with this, but I think it's time to wrap it up. I'm Howie Carr.
You can call him Fat Boy, just don't call him late for dinner. It's Howie Carr.
Alexander. Same could be said for town meeting member.
That's true, now that I think about it. What word can't be twisted around in some form or another, right? What would be the replacement for town meeting member?
Participant?
Maybe participant. Boy, that's a mouthful.
15-lane range and a friendly staff. Come on down to Cape Gunworks Airport Road, Hyannis, or capegunworks.com.
Liberty Safe. If you're a gun owner, you know that name because they've worked so hard to earn the title of America's #1 safe. And the area's best Liberty Safe dealer is Dependable Lock in Nashua. They have Liberty Safes in stock now. Keep your guns and other valuables locked up in a Liberty Safe. See the experts at Dependable Lock to learn more and see the full collection. LibertySafeNewHampshire.com. LibertySafeNewHampshire.com.
This is Charlie Baker.
Hey, everybody. Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker here.
And these are his friends.
I can't tell you how many times in the past couple of months somebody I know has told me a story.
In the world of Charlie Baker and his friends, the real world of panic porn, political leaders cannot survive without absolute power. And the public can't be expected to blindly follow orders without first hearing a made-up story.
Somebody I know has told me a story about how they got it, and it all goes back every single time to some informal gathering where nobody wore masks, nobody kept their distance, and the virus spread.
It's a confusing, nonsensical, follow-the-science world. But it's the only world they know.
I mean, it's pretty common at this point that that's where a big piece of this is coming from.
And they're the only friends Charlie Baker has.
You've been hearing me talk about Super Beets for a while now, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, why Super Beets? You could take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I take them twice a day, once in the morning when I get up, even before I have my first cup of coffee, and the other time in the afternoon, right before the show. It gives me a burst of energy. It's great for my blood pressure. It's good for circulation. It just makes you feel better. If that doesn't convince you, we can talk about the science behind Super Beets. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body, and even supports healthy blood pressure. But Super Beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just one scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beets yourself. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie.
We are now effective today requiring all counties to close their indoor activities, their indoor operations in the following sectors: restaurants, wineries, tasting rooms. A few weeks ago, I was asked to go to a friend's 50th birthday. I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up.
Stay at home as much as possible. Put those social gatherings on hold, including extra care for Thanksgiving.
Denver's mayor told you to stay home for Thanksgiving, then he got on a flight to go see family out of state.
Some people calling Supervisor Kuehl a hypocrite. Now, on November 24th, she voted to ban outdoor dining, and on the very same day, she was spotted eating out.
I take responsibility for trusting the word of the neighborhood salon that I've been to over the years. As it turns out, it was a setup. So I take responsibility for falling for a setup. This salon owes me an apology. What they do.
We're not just gonna let you walk out of here. Who's we, sucker? Smith, Wesson, and me.
The Howie Carr Show.
617 says, can you call a mailman a package handler? No, you can't.
How dare you?
Make 2021 your healthiest year yet with Super Beets Heart Chews. They're really great. They come wrapped up in foil. I'm holding a couple right here. They look like candy. They taste pretty good, just about like candy, but they're good for you. Get a free 30-day supply of Super Beets Heart Chews plus a free 30-day supply of their new delicious flavor, Super Grapes, with your first purchase at superbeetsradio.com/Howie, superbeetsradio.com/Howie. Try not, what I'm about to tell you, destroy your faith in the integrity and ethics and morality of Ivy League vice presidents. It's a breaking story in the New York Post. Columbia University vice president charged with sexually assaulting minor.
Can we do the poll question first?
Okay. All right. I should do the poll question first before we get to this. Go ahead, Taylor. What's the poll question? What are the
Mike
results?
Pence throw the election over to the House of Representatives tomorrow?
I don't think he will, no.
43% say yes, he will.
Some people are saying if this could really be accomplished, Joe Biden would have tried it 4 years ago. There may be something to that argument. And another point that people have made today is that if Mike Pence does indeed try to do that, guess what? The Supreme Court will decide it does have standing to get involved in the matter.
I believe it was tried 4 years ago, but there wasn't a Senate contest. Nobody from the Senate objected, so they couldn't hear the objections. You have to have a senator and a congressman.
Right, but it's ultimately it will be. I mean, Pence. I think the way I understand it is Pence is basically it's going to be like a courtroom proceeding, and they're going to hear evidence, quote unquote, and Pence is the judge, and it's a bench trial, and he's the judge, so he makes the decision whether or not to. According to some theories, he can make the decision to invalidate slates of electors from certain states. So I don't know. I think it's pretty nebulous. I know they say that this happened in 1876, and but my understanding is they rewrote the laws after it happened after the 1876 election in 1877. And back in those days, the president didn't assume office until March, the newly elected president. So this thing went on not just through November and December and January, and it went into February and then into March, and they only came to a decision in March of 1877 after the election in November of 1876. And the immortal Rutherford B. Hayes was picked, I believe, over a guy named Tilden. I think that was the Democrat. All right, 844-500-4242. So this a vice president at Columbia University allegedly assaulted an 11-year-old girl in his house before playing a round of golf. This happened earlier this week. Marcelo Velez of Woodcliff Lake, New Jersey, was arrested Monday and charged slapped with charges of aggravated sexual assault and sexual assault by contact, according to authorities. He's worked at Columbia since 1995, and he's being held in the Bergen County Jail. 844-500-4242. Did we get that stuff from the train, Taylor?
Yes, we did. Yep.
This was recorded on a cell phone camera. This woman sees two guys on a train. You know the way it is. You got the club car and the that you can go and you can get a drink or a soft drink or a cup of coffee. So these two guys were on the train and they went and got a cup of coffee. And guess what? They were trying to drink coffee without wearing a mask, and it really triggered the Karen on the train.
70,000 Twitter followers.
Wow. You have 70,000 Twitter followers? Well, they're not. That means nothing. You're still being very rude. These men are just drinking coffee. They're allowed to have a mask off when they're drinking.
They weren't wearing masks.
You know what's safer than a mask? Social distancing. That's more effective than the mask. So why don't you step back and leave them alone?
I have 70,000 Twitter followers. You better put those damn masks back on. And it turns out she's a contributor to the Huffington Post. Why was that to be expected, I suppose?
Here's part two. We had to heavily bleep this one.
Okay.
Oh, Ashley. Is that you? You doxing. You Nazi. You doxed me. What'd you
I did not dox you.
Yes, you did, sweetheart.
No, I didn't. I posted a video of you.
Huh?
I posted a video of you on a public train.
On Instagram.
I don't even know who you are.
Well, everybody knows now, all your little Nazi friends. Your little conservative MAGA friends.
This is not a good look, honey.
You are a lowlife.
For posting a, can someone get the conductor? Or I will.
She's like Hilaria Baldwin. She starts it, and now she's a victim. What about your 70,000 Twitter followers, honey?
The election is
Howie Carr.
behind us, and what happens next is anyone's guess. Most agree, though, that taxes will be going up in the future. Is your portfolio ready? Kevin Frisbee and the team at Frisbee & Associates want you to be sure.
If you want to come in and take advantage of that free consultation, we're going to have the 100-100 challenge. So if you have at least $100,000 in an investment account with somebody else, and you go through our process, there's no obligation, you're going to be able to get a $100 bill. You could leave our office with that $100 bill, and we're going to do the comparison, and we're going to send you on your way, and then you could circle back around if you wanted to.
Call now for your no-cost, no-obligation.
Candidate for the United States Senate. Now we need to stand behind Jamie Harrison, the next president, next senator. I'm looking forward to appointing the first African-American woman to the United States Senate. Just like here in California, here in Nevada.
Okay, here, you keep this. I know what I want to say now.
Okay. Late spring, late winter, early fall, anyway, you know what I mean.
Look, tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday.
I tell you what, I'm rushing ahead, aren't I? We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by Go, you know the thing. It says you cannot have 20, 30, 40, 50 clips in a weapon.
We'll see who's sleepy.
Mr. Vice President, thank you.
All right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
All right, it's Christmas.
Sometimes I wake up and I think it's 1920, not 2020.
Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. Buyraycon.com/Howie. And now, a minute of wisdom from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Millennials and people and Gen Z and all these folks that come after us are looking up, and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it? And this is the war. This is our World War II.
I think that there's a lot of people more concerned about being precisely, factually, and semantically correct than about being morally right.
But being factually correct is important.
It's absolutely important. And if we work our butts off to make sure that we take back all three chambers of Congress, all three chambers of government, the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2020, we can't start working in 2020.
Watch out, Joe Biden. You might have to share some of the spotlight because your running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, is certainly grabbing some attention for her own gaffes.
She was part of our culture. Yes, we wear those notorious B.I.G. t-shirts with a lot of pride.
Best rapper alive, Tupac. He's not. You say he lives on.
Not alive. I know. I keep doing that. A Harris administration together with Joe Biden as the president of the United States. The Biden-Harris administration. We have got to, in America, reimagine how we are accomplishing public safety. And let's be clear, there is no vaccine for racism.
Let's just say there's a vaccine that is approved and even distributed before the election. Would you get it?
Well, I think that's going to be an issue for all of us. I will say that I would not trust Donald Trump.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
If she's so scared, that woman, that Karen, with the 70,000 Twitter followers, why doesn't she just stay home? Stop bothering other people. All right. 844-500-4242. I wrote a column about how the U.S. Attorney's Office in Boston and elsewhere, that for the last 4 years they've been allowed to talk about the immigration status of some of the defendants. They under Obama they couldn't do that. They were allowed. They would call someone who was from the Dominican Republic or anywhere a Lawrence man or a Chelsea man or a Boston man. And it's just the immigration problem has been somewhat more under control under Trump than it was under Obama. And there was an interesting story last month. It got buried, obviously, because it was good for Trump. And this is from the 9th paragraph of this story in the Washington Post last month. Mexican officials have private concerns that any moves to revoke Trump's enforcement mechanisms too quickly could have a dam-bursting effect at their southern border, unleashing pent-up demand from desperate Central Americans. This is a quote in the Washington Post, of all places. Our southern border was a mess, and now it's under control. said a senior Mexican official who spoke on the condition of anonymity for lack of authorization to discuss potential relations with the U.S. under the Biden administration. I wanted to have Jessica Vaughn from the Center for Immigration Studies on to discuss this, what Trump did and what the promised Biden changes would do to open the borders and return us to the Obama days of chaos and MS-13 gangbangers and unaccompanied minors and terrorists coming into the country as welcomed as refugees, et cetera, et cetera. Jessica Vaughn, thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show.
Good to talk with you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Jessica. So, is it as bad as the Washington Post? I don't even think they knew how damning their story was, even if it was buried in the 9th paragraph. Is it that bad if Biden gets in?
Yeah, I think there's a real reason to be concerned because, especially, judging by the statements that were made in the campaign and more recently, and the people that have been put forward for nominations, specifically the Homeland Security nominee, Ali Mayorkas. And we know there will be a lot of pressure from the open borders Democrats, that there's real reason to be concerned because while the Biden transition people have tried to walk back some of these statements about, about overturning all of Trump's policies and reversing every executive order and regulation change that Trump pushed through, they're not going to be able to control this. The message has already gone out to the world that the Biden administration wants to overturn the Trump policies, and they're already stacking up in Central America, forming caravans, making their plans to come to the U.S. border because they expect that they will be allowed in just as they were under the Obama administration. I
read that last week.
They are ready.
They were on the bridge in Brownsville, Texas, and they were chanting Biden, 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 trying to break into the United States.
Oh, that's right. That's right. They've been, this is the moment they've been hoping for the last 4 years. And, they're in Panama just waiting for their chance to come. And you can't blame Mexico and even some of the three Northern Triangle countries for not wanting to go back to being a doormat for the criminal smuggling organizations that are bringing these people here from all over the world. Biden has said that he wants to end the Remain in Mexico policy, which said that if you want asylum, you're going to have to wait your turn in Mexico. And if you've come through third countries like El Salvador or Guatemala, you're going to have to apply there. And those countries agreed to these provisions and international agreements because they knew it would work.
Right.
And they were tired of having
they have worked.
Smuggling.
They have worked.
They have worked. Absolutely, they've worked, and we can tell because the border has been under control, partially because of some of the measures put in place during the pandemic. But all of these show that we can control the borders. Just have to have the will, and President Trump had the will.
Right, and Biden has actually promised them, under Obama they get on welfare basically automatically. I know technically they're not supposed to until they have the anchor baby, but we all know they get on welfare. But now he's promised them free health.
It's up to the states to decide.
He's promised them free health care, right? He prayed during one of those debates. They said, if you're for free health care for all illegal aliens, hold up your hand. And he was one of the people who held up his hand. So did Kamala Harris.
Every one of them did. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And they've started to come up with new euphemisms for their open borders policies, like they're going to have a deportation moratorium. And they are saying that, no more deportations except for possibly axe murderers is going to be called, case management. Catch and release becomes case management and alternatives to detention.
Yeah, how's that working out with American citizens, not to mention illegal aliens in places like New York City and San Francisco, where a guy who should be behind bars for life just ran over two pedestrians. He was an American citizen. Now you're going to bring in everybody from the third world and let them commit as many crimes as they want. I mean, that's the reality of it.
Right, and these prospective illegal aliens know it. They know that despite all the talk, if they make it to the southern border and say the magic word of asylum, they'll be let in. But, here's an interesting thing. The Biden administration, some folks are already a little nervous about another rush on the border starting. So they're making plans to instead of, what they hope will divert some of these people is they're going to set up what they call in-country refugee processing centers in Central America, so that instead of making this trek to Mexico and paying a coyote, you can go to the U.S. government facility in Central America and apply directly, and then you get a free flight to the U.S., and that takes all the pressure off the border, they think.
But why would you, Jessica, I know this is a rhetorical question, but I feel I have to ask it. Why would you want to bring in people who, if previous statistics are any indication, and that's the only thing you have to go on, at least 3/4 of them are going to immediately be on welfare, probably for the indefinite future? Why are we importing more welfare recipients? Didn't we just spend the last 4 years trying to get down the welfare rolls?
Absolutely, and our record is not good on this right now. About 2/3 of all immigrants, legal and illegal, are accessing some kind of welfare program, more than double the rate of native-born Americans. So, it's a huge fiscal drain. We know what's going to happen, but I don't think they're concerned about that if they eventually get to vote, because they know who they will be voting for, and it will be the people that allowed them to come, which would be the Democrats.
I would make the argument, too.
What it boils down to is it's all about those congressional apportionment and, who can show up and bring votes, whether cast or not, legally.
Why do they need to bring them in now that they've shown they could just make them up as they go along, or delete Trump votes, whatever they did?
Mail them in.
Yeah, mail them in.
Right.
I'm just looking at a story from the Washington Examiner. The Trump administration officials are saying the Biden effect could draw 140,000 immigrants a month across the border. 140,000 a month. And again, at least 2/3 are on welfare. And even the ones who want to work are going to be going into the workforce at the lowest paying jobs. So here you have the lowest unemployment rate until the panic began among blacks and Hispanics and women since they've started keeping statistics on unemployment. So what's that going to do to the unemployment at the lower levels of the economic ladder? It's going to increase American unemployment again, isn't it?
Yes, and it's also going to depress the wages of those who are still working because, and we've seen this happen. It's been demonstrated through very reputable academic studies that when you have, and it's simple supply and demand, when you have a huge influx of people willing to work for less, it drives down the wages of others who are in that same bracket for jobs. And these are the people, Americans, who are struggling the most right now. And Trump's policies have really benefited them. Again, we've seen it. It's, we now have proof that this works, that a tight labor market driven by restricted immigration does benefit Americans, especially those who don't have a high school degree. And they're not only going to be on unemployment, they will be pushed out of the labor market permanently, some of them. It does lasting damage, unfortunately, when we have unrestricted immigration.
And my understanding, too, is that COVID-19 is worse in Mexico and the Central American countries than it is in the United States. So why are we importing people that are more likely to get sick at the same time that we're requiring Americans to not work, be locked down, get vaccines, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, come on, they're going to take their temperature at the border, I'm sure. That's about it. It doesn't make any sense, and the people who will end up covering the cost of this are taxpayers and bearing the brunt. We all get told to wear masks and stay home, and but the border can be open.
Yeah, it makes no
sense. It doesn't make any
sense
sense at all. It's not logical, but it suits their ideology.
And their long term and their short term and their long term goals. It's just it's really
right.
terrible.
And their long term goal of permanently staying in office.
Yeah.
Until the rare times where voters are able to to elect leaders that will do something about it. Because, to be honest, there have been many establishment Republicans who have pursued very similar policies, but with different gimmicks, like, they'll call it a guest worker program instead of illegal workers. But,
yeah, I just got a text. I just got a text, Jessica Vaughn. I'm a landlord in Waltham, and I'm already getting calls from people who are looking for units for their relatives who are coming up from Guatemala. I guess the first question is probably, do you take Section 8? I'm guessing they're not paying full market rate for their units for their Guatemalan illegal aliens that are coming over the border. Good Lord.
No, they get the anti-Zatuni rate.
Anti-Zatuni, and for those of you who are new listeners, that was Barack Obama's aunt, who was an illegal alien living in public housing in Boston, and very proud of it. It admitted it. It's on TV, and said God wanted her to be living on welfare in a country she didn't belong in. Jessica Vaughn from the Center for Immigration Studies. Where can people go to read more on your organization, about your studies?
Everything we publish, including the studies that you referred to about what's going on with the caravans and so on, is at CIS.org.
CIS.org. Thank you, Jessica Vaughn, for being with us. We appreciate it, even though the news is rather bleak. We're all looking for ways to save money, right? Especially now. So let me ask you this. How would you like to keep an extra $961 a year in your pocket? That's how much Gabby customers save per year on average on their home and car insurance. That's why when I was shopping for insurance recently, I used Gabby. This is the time of year when we go shopping for insurance. Well, Gabby takes the pain out of shopping for insurance by giving you an apples-to-apples comparison of your current coverage with 40 of the top insurance providers, including Progressive, Nationwide, and Travelers. Just link your current insurance account, and in just minutes, you'll be able to see quotes for the exact same coverage you currently have, and chances are that you're going to be saving a lot of money. It's fast and it's easy to use Gabby, even if you're not computer savvy, and I'm not. I was with my old insurance company. I can't even remember how long. I just haven't changed it for a long, long time. The insurance agency I bought it from is long out of business. The guy I bought it from is dead. He's been dead for a long time. But, when I went to Gabby, I finally realized I've been overpaying. I've been overpaying for years. I logged in with my current insurance, and I was shown dozens of quotes, and they saved me hundreds of dollars. Thank you, Gabby. As I mentioned earlier, Gabby customers on average save $961. I bet that would be nice to have in your pocket every year. I don't think I save quite that much, but it's still pretty good. Any savings is great. If they can't find you savings like they did for me, they'll let you know so you can relax knowing you have the best rate out there. And they will never, ever sell your info, so no annoying spam or robocalls. You're probably overpaying on car and home insurance. See how much Gabby can save you. It's totally free to check, and there's no obligation, so you have nothing to lose. Go to Gabby.com, GABI.com/Howie. That's GABI.com/Howie. Gabby.com/Howie. I'm Howie Carr.
Don't touch that dial. Howie Carr will be back after this.
He's the gaffe that keeps on giving. Here's 1 minute of former Vice President Joe Biden.
You teachers who touch them, figuratively speaking, Well, I hope you touch them and tell them how much you love them too. But my point is, when you touch their hearts, I get in trouble some things I say, but I want to tell you, just be straight up. If I'm your president, with me, it starts here in my gut, goes to my heart, and then I articulate it. And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back.
You can open it up if you want.
1.2 billion. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who brings out the carts on a forklift. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap, and I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Hair loss is not one of life's more enjoyable experiences. If you're looking to fill in your hairline or reverse years of hair loss, DiStefano Hair Restoration will create a result that will be a transformative experience. The result of my IGT procedure was quite remarkable. I now have fuller, thicker hair, so I can even wear it a bit longer. There are a few major decisions I've made in my life that I wish I did sooner. My hair restoration is number one. It was by far one of the best moves I've ever made. My hair looks awesome, and the confidence from having a full head of hair again has left me feeling great. I used to look in the mirror and dreaded seeing my ever-increasing bald spot. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see the new me with a full head of thick hair. For information on how to make the same choice I did, go to hairman.com/Howie. What are you waiting for? More hair to fall out? Get the hair you've always wanted. Hairman.com/Howie.
Joe Biden accuses Trump of being a racist, but if you listen to Biden's comments, you would agree that he doth protest too much.
If you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
He's the first mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean.
And Madam President, we have predators on our streets.
That kid wearing a hoodie may very well be the next poet laureate and not a gangbanger.
They are beyond the pale, many of those people.
God love you. You've been here all day. My Lord, you may feel like you're being incarcerated.
We have no choice but to take them out of society.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro.
They're going to put you all back in chains. Unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things. If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
T-Dope, I want to do my share of the work.
Howie Carr is back.
844-500-4242. Dutch, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Dutch.
Yeah, Howard, just checking in from Stone Mountain, Georgia. I might as well be in a prison camp. The ads down here are so oppressive. Every damn commercial is at least one or two ads for this Senate race. But I will tell you this, I've had 81 calls today, 50 on my cell phone. 50 of them have been from Republicans, so I got to tell you, they're working hard. I don't know if they'll get it done.
Dutch, though, I'm glad they're making all these calls. But what they got to do is once the polls close tonight at 7 or 8 o'clock, that's when they got to go to work. They got to stop them from stealing the elections like they were doing in Fulton County on November the 3rd, right?
Yeah, Fulton County and my county, DeKalb, two terrible examples. And I'll tell you this: they need to just start off. There's 159 counties in Georgia. They need to withhold all the results until Fulton and DeKalb get done cheating.
Agreed.
And then they can start. Then they can start with appling. I think that's the first one, A, and go right through them in alphabetical order. And damn it, the Republicans will win this race.
You know what, Dutch? That was the problem with the Republicans in Illinois in 1960, right? They turned in their results early, and Daley saw how many votes he had to steal in Cook County, Chicago. And if the Republicans had held on to the ballots later downstate in Illinois, Richard Nixon would have been inaugurated in 1961. That's a real good point. So what's your thought though, Dutch? If you had to bet right now, who's going to win?
I bet. Okay, I think that Ossoff will lose, and I think that the Loeffler thing is a toss-up. But I believe Republicans win one for sure, and probably very closely two.
God, I hope
That's
so.
my sense of it.
I hope so,
And
Dutch.
I just don't. Stacey Abrams. Would you like her in Massachusetts? We'd like to send her up there.
Oh my!
We don't have
what
the room.
a disaster.
We don't have room. I don't think. Yeah. Who appointed her sister to the federal judgeship? Let me guess. Barack Hussein Obama.
Oh, good guess. Perfect. Right on. Yes, of course. And let's let her rule on everything Abrams got her fingers in.
Boy, how bad is Raffensperger? I thought Charlie Parker in Massachusetts was bad. I thought Larry Hogan Parker in Maryland was bad. But Raffensperger puts both of those guys to shame in his spinelessness. Trump is totally right about him. Thanks for the call, Dutch. We'll be right back. I'm Howie Carr.
Yes, I'm in sunny Florida, but when Charlotte and Tina visited for Christmas, we had a cold snap. They couldn't get the heat working at the Airbnb, but guess what? Yep, you guessed it. I had the Gen 40 heater. They plugged it in and the apartment became toasty warm. You may have thought of buying the Gen 40 heater to save money, and that's a good plan. But have you thought about buying it as an insurance policy for when your furnace breaks down? It can take days to get a repair, but wouldn't you want to be warm while you wait? My friends at Eden Pure have a new portable infrared heater that lets you turn down your thermostat but keeps your family warm and comfortable. The Eden Pure Gen 40 heater makes you feel
And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight and then watch the hair come back up again. 1.2 billion. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who brings out the carts on a forklift. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Here's 1 minute of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
There's a lot of restaurants that are feeling the pain of racism, where people are literally not patroning Chinese restaurants. They're not patroning Asian restaurants because of just straight up racism around the coronavirus. So,
only in America does when the president tweets about liberation, does he mean go back to work? When we, have this discussion about going back or reopening, I think a lot of people should just say, no, we're not going back to that.
I know it sounds banal. Do we know how long puppies are allowed to stay with their mothers after a dog has given birth?
I don't.
8 weeks. So the market has decided that women and people who give birth deserve less time with their children than a dog.
So the whole premise of the Green New Deal is that we're screwed.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever, is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally met rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no-obligation investment guide about protecting your future with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300.
Watch out, Joe Biden. You might have to share some of the spotlight because your running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, is certainly grabbing some attention for her own gaffes.
She was part of our culture. Yes, we wear those notorious B.I.G. t-shirts with a lot of pride.
Best rapper alive, Tupac. He's not. You say he lives on.
Not alive. I know. I keep doing that. A Harris administration together with Joe Biden as the president of the United States. The Biden-Harris administration. We have got to, in America, reimagine how we are accomplishing public safety. And let's be clear, there is no vaccine for racism.
Let's just say there's a vaccine that is approved and even distributed before the election. Would you get it?
Well, I think that's going to be an issue for all of us. I will say that I would not trust Donald Trump.
We are now effective today requiring all counties to close their indoor activities, their indoor operations in the following sectors: restaurants, wineries, tasting rooms.
Stay at home as much as possible. Put those social gatherings on hold, including extra care for Thanksgiving.
Denver's mayor told you to stay home for Thanksgiving, then he got on a flight to go see family out of state.
Some people calling Supervisor Kuehl a hypocrite. Now, on November 24th, she voted to ban outdoor dining, and on the very same day, she was spotted eating out.
I take responsibility for trusting the word of the neighborhood salon that I've been to over the years. As it turns out, it was a setup. So I take responsibility for falling for a setup. This salon owes me an apology. What they do.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
Joe Biden's plagiarizing prowess proves one thing: he's been stealing all his life.
Let us pledge that our generation of Americans will pay any price. We shall pay any price. Bear any burden. Bear any burden. Accept any challenge and meet any hardship. Meet any hardship. To secure the blessings of prosperity and the promise of opportunity for our children. To assure the survival and the success of liberty.
But this standard is not a measure of how we can evaluate the condition of our society. It cannot measure the health of our children.
Yet the gross national product does not allow for the health of our children.
The quality of our education.
The quality of their education.
The joy of their play.
For the joy of their play.
Come on, man. You've been hearing me talk about super beets for a while now, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, why super beets? You could take it from me. The benefits of super beets are incredible. I take them twice a day, once in the morning when I get up, even before I have my first cup of coffee, and the other time in the afternoon, right before the show. It gives me a burst of energy. It's great for my blood pressure. It's good for circulation. It just makes you feel better. If that doesn't convince you, we can talk about the science behind super beets. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body, and even supports healthy blood pressure. But super beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just one scoop of super beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out super beets yourself. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie.
Watch out, Joe Biden. You might have to share some of the spotlight because your running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, is certainly grabbing some attention for her own gaffes.
She was part of our culture. Yes, we wear those notorious B.I.G. t-shirts with a lot of pride.
Best rapper alive, Tupac. He's not alive. You say he lives on.
Not alive. I know. I keep doing that. A Harris administration together with Joe Biden as the president of the United States. The Biden-Harris administration. We have got to, in America, reimagine how we are accomplishing public safety.
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
You can lose, and that's acceptable. You lose, you go, and you go wherever you're going, and you go and say, maybe I'll do it again sometime, or maybe I won't, or I'll get back to life. Nothing's more important than sportsmanship. But when you win in a landslide, and they steal it, and it's rigged, it's not acceptable.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
You just said what has gone wrong, so I'm answering the question.
If I could complete the question, though.
So you're going to give a speech, or you're going to ask a question?
Knock, knock. Who's there? Shh. Let me tell you a little story about a man named Shh.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
I hope the 6th, and I want to make sure people understand this. I hope it goes bad.
Because you hate everything?
I want you to see the names. I want you to see the faces, and I want you to remember.
I need names, people.
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
Welcome back to the Howie Carr Show. 844-500-4242. The polls are still open in Georgia. If you're listening to us in the Peachtree State, please, for God's sake, get out and vote. You heard Dutch. He thinks the Republicans are going to pull it out. I hope he's right. Knock on wood. We were talking about illegal aliens and the suspected border invasion that's on its way as they chant, Biden, Biden, everything free in America. 508 wants to know, Biden, Biden. Will the Harris administration require a negative COVID test 72 hours in advance of the border invasion? No, that's only for American citizens. Come on. All right. I just want to read one thing. I mentioned this briefly in my column on Sunday, but this is the kind of stuff that's going on with, it's going on with American citizens, but it's even more infuriating when it goes on with illegal aliens. This is from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Boston. It's from a few weeks ago. 6 individuals charged with federal identity fraud crimes. 6 individuals were charged this week with their misuse of stolen identities to obtain official identification documents and other government benefits. That would be welfare. Of the 6 defendants charged, the true identities of 4 remain unknown. They can't figure out who these people are. This is an increasing problem. It'll be an even bigger problem when Joe Biden tells the U.S. attorneys to not even try to figure it out. According to charging documents, these individuals use social security numbers and other identifiers to obtain, for example, Massachusetts driver's licenses or identification cards or mass health benefits. That's Medicaid. That's free health care. Some of the stolen identities were also used to obtain pandemic unemployment assistance, PUA, under the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act, CARES. So they were getting the pandemic relief. A Brazilian national illegally residing in Fall River was charged with theft of government funds. He submitted a fraudulent application for PUA benefits using another person's name and social security numbers. A Dominican national illegally residing in Lawrence, stop me if you've heard that one before, was charged with aggravated identity theft and false representation of a social security number. Then there were others. A woman residing in Lawrence whose true identity has not been confirmed. A man residing in Roxbury whose true identity has not been confirmed. A man residing in Roslindale whose true identity has not been confirmed. A man residing in Lawrence whose true identity has not been confirmed. They're charged as John Does, or should I say Juan Does. But yeah, I know. 844-500-4242. The Herald has obtained the state payroll. And I always go over the state payroll to see, for 2020, to see, there's always new nuggets that turn up. And I wrote a column about it today for tomorrow's paper, and and we'll have the some of the list will be unveiled tomorrow, and it's pretty amazing. I noticed one today. I'd never seen him before. He's been back on the payroll for 3 or 4 years, and somehow he always slid through. Do you remember a guy named Jerry Leone? He used to be the district attorney of Middlesex County. You know what? You know how much he got last year? He's at UMass. He's been there for 4 years. He made $291,000. It even took a little pay cut because his annual rate of pay is $302,000. Good Lord. So he resigned as the district attorney of Middlesex County, the largest county, in 2013, and he went to work for Nixon Peabody. That's a big white shoe law firm in downtown Boston. And they got all kinds of publicity. He's moving on to new great challenges. So 2 years later, he flees Nixon Peabody, and he ends up at a construction company, Consigli Construction Company, as vice president of people development. Not so much hoopla, but I found a mention of it in the press release somewhere. But 2 years after he left Nixon Peabody, the big law firm, big bucks law firm, to go to work at Consigli Construction, he left Consigli Construction to go to work for his fellow former hack from Middlesex County, Marty Meehan, the former congressman who's now the president of UMass. And he's now on the payroll of UMass for $302,000 a year, although last year he only got $201,000. So isn't it amazing? All of these people on the public sector, they tell us we're all in it together, but they've been making these huge amounts of money. This year, we ran the numbers. There are 19,962. Let's just round it off to 20,000. There are 20,000 people on the state payroll making over $100,000. 879 making over 200,000. 116 making more than 300,000. I'm going to throw Jerry Leone in there, even though he took on a little pay cut, little pay trim, because everybody has to tighten their belts because we're all in this together. And you get this big money, and if you get enough years in and you wait long enough to check out, and why shouldn't you check out, especially when you're working quote unquote from home, you get 80% pension. So this guy, he was the DA before, so he's probably looking at a pension of $250,000. $250,000. Plus, he's not collecting his DA's pension yet, but the DA is what do they call it? Group 4. I think it's law enforcement if you're a DA or a first assistant DA. Maybe all assistant DAs now. But he's not collecting that pension. A lot of judges have DA pensions in addition to judicial pensions. But this UMass is just amazing. The top 30 paying jobs in the Hackorama are UMass. Before you get the number 31 is the first one who's not UMass. It's the chief medical examiner. Her name is Mindy Hull. She makes $395,000. So there's 40 people making over, 30 people making about 400,000. Then you go another 15 UMass employees before you get to the next non-academic. And you know who that is? That's the boss of the MBTA, a guy named Steve Poftak. He makes $345,000. $345,000 a year. Even though the commuter rail, we've talked about this before, the T's commuter rail passengers are down 90%. Subway passengers down 60 to 75%. But his pay hasn't gone down. No. If you work at a Massachusetts restaurant or a bowling alley or a health club or a skating rink, your pay has gone down, and it wasn't $345,000 to begin with or $291,000 to begin with. But guess what? These people haven't missed a single paycheck. And I just want to again point out 201. How does one become a Massachusetts hack? You have to know somebody. And if you want one of those jobs, it doesn't hurt to give money to the lieutenant governor, pay to play Polito. If you want to be a clerk, magistrate, or a judge, it really pays to give money to pay to play Polito. And giving money to Charlie Parker, too. Charlie Parker and pay to play Polito. That's how the guy who's now under indictment for criminal negligent homicide at the Holyoke Soldiers Home, that's the way he parlayed it. $950 to Baker, $1,000 to pay to play Polito, and he got the job, and 76 veterans died. But the legislators, the state legislators now, I just want to, I think I may have mentioned this last night, the least that any state senator is now making after the recent pay raises, 6% pay raises. Did you get a 6% pay raise last year? I didn't. The 6% pay raises the state legislature got, and their expenses, quote unquote, and their bonuses, quote unquote, the least the state senator is now making is $103,846 a year. That's the minimum pay for a state senator. And it goes up to like $180,000 for the president of the state senate. We'll take some calls on this and other matters. We'll play some cuts from Trump. 844-500-4242. Bruce from the Mets says it's truly gut-wrenching to hear these numbers. Yeah, it is. It really is, Bruce. At least you're not a Massachusetts taxpayer. At least you live in New Hampshire, so you're paying less taxes than most of us are paying, who are picking up the tab for these obscene salaries. All right. Sticking to your New Year's resolution is making one right decision at a time. Usually in the old days, I used to try to cut down on my intake of food to lose some weight. Now I don't have to do that, but I try to be more healthy. And part of being healthy is ingesting the right foods, even if you don't have to worry so much about your weight. And one way to stay healthy is to eat Super Beets chews. Super Beets soft chews. Now Super Beets hard chews. They tell you to take 2 a day, so I take one when I wake up in the morning before I go out for my bike ride, and then I take one before the show every afternoon at 3 o'clock. Got a couple right here. If you're on social media, you can see them. They look like a candy in foil wrap.
This is a New Year's resolution you can keep, Howie, because they're so easy and very delicious too. So you can't forget about it.
That's right. That's right. And we'll have to get some up to you for you and Grace and everybody else up there.
You keep saying that, yet they never make it here.
They're in the mail. A mailman will be delivering them any day now. Any day now. Just two Super Beets Heart Chews per day give you the cardiovascular support and promote the heart-healthy energy you need to chase your goals. Super Beets Heart Chews combine non-GMO beets and clinically researched grapeseed extract to be twice as effective at supporting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. When it comes to implementing healthy habits this year, adding Super Beets Heart Chews to your daily routines is an easy decision to make. And now you can get a free 30-day supply of Super Beets Heart Chews plus a free 30-day supply of their new delicious flavor Super Grapes with your first purchase by going to superbeetsradio.com/Howie. That's 2 free gifts valued at over $50, only available at superbeetsradio.com/Howie. You're going to love Super Beets Heart Chews. That's superbeetsradio.com/Howie. I'm Howie Carr.
Keep it here. The captain will be back after this.
Normally, we give Fredo Cuomo a lot of attention, but lately it's Governor Andrew Cuomo who's been grabbing headlines. Let's take a listen to some of his best moments.
You're an essential worker, so go take a job as an essential worker.
But the people aren't hiring because of...
No, there are people hiring. You can get a job as an essential worker. So now you can go to work and you can be an essential worker and you're not going to kill anyone. The number is down because we brought the number down. God did not do that. Fate did not do that. Destiny did not do that. We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great. because I can also see you're in masterful shape, buff even. It has a very nice floral bouquet. A little I detected lilac, hydrangea, tulips. What does it smell like to you? Tulips, yes. Floral bouquet. Because if that's who they are, and if they are the extreme conservatives, they have no place in the state of New York.
Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. Buyraycon.com/Howie.
What impact do you think Russian interference had in the election?
I think it was one of the major contributors to the outcome.
Years from the 2016 election, and Hillary Clinton still can't accept the results. Take a listen.
You know, you can run the best campaign. You can be the person who gets the nomination. You could lose. I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows.
The one thing that Trump is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
This wasn't on the level.
Flashing videos that appear and then disappear, and they're on the dark web and nobody can find them.
It's like applying for a job and getting 66 million letters of recommendation and losing to a corrupt human tornado. So maybe there does need to be a rematch. I mean, obviously, I can beat him again. So, of course, he's obsessed with me.
There's no silencing him. They've tried.
You're not going to intimidate me. I'm entitled to my opinion.
Howie Carr.
Make 2021 your healthiest year yet with Super Beets Heart Chews. Again, I'm holding them up here. They're great. They look like candy. They taste sweet, and they're good for you. That's the difference between Super Beets Heart Chews and candy. Get a free 30-day supply of Super Beets Heart Chews plus a free 30-day supply of their new delicious flavor, Super Grapes, with your first purchase at superbeetsradio.com/Howie. Taylor, what's the poll question and what are the results thus far?
Will Mike Pence throw the election over to the House of Representatives tomorrow?
I don't think so, but I hope he will.
58% say no.
All right. 508 says, was that consigliere construction? No, it was consigli construction. He went from, he spent just about exactly 2 years at Nixon Peabody after he left the DA's office, and then he went to consigli construction. He spent about exactly 2 years there, and then he went back to UMass, back to the Hackorama, back to the public trough. Sheldon, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Sheldon.
How horrible is it that going back to the public sector is a better payday? I don't begrudge anybody making in the private sector however much they can make. Be a CEO who makes $2-3 million. If they have a product that's worth selling and they can make that kind of money, great. If you can get sponsors to provide you with money and you can make a ton of money, great. But in the public sector, for these guys to be making this amount of money is absolutely atrocious. And the most horrible thing about it is I'm a sales rep for a company. We were closed down. Our factories had to close down, so I couldn't work for 6 weeks.
I know.
These guys kept on getting paid. They just kept on getting paid.
I know. And you know, you call them up even today and they say, nobody, as far as I could see, nobody at the state level or any kind of public level picks up the phone anymore. We're working remotely. if you have to get me, call me at this number. And then you call and you get the same thing. Yeah, we're working remotely. I called 2 people at UMass. I wanted to get a comment on this guy, Jerry Leone, getting this job for $300,000. How come they didn't issue a press release about this, Sheldon? That they'd been able to score this guy after a nationwide search after he left being vice president of people development at the Consigli Construction Company.
The whole working remote thing is absolutely crazy. I just sold my house, had to get a Title V certificate from the town hall. It took 2 weeks to finally get in touch with the person to get me the certificate because she's working remotely. It's absolutely crazy.
I know there were politicians, people who wanted to run for office. They were having a tough time getting the signatures because you have to turn in the signatures to town hall. But all the town halls were closed in the spring. It's ridiculous. And they are, I'm working from home. Yeah, right. You know, some people do work remotely from home. Okay, I get that. I mean, I do. But, you know, I have to produce a product. I have to produce a column. I have to produce a radio show. What do these people have to produce? Most of them. Thanks for the call, Sheldon. Rick, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Rick.
Thanks, Howie. You're spot on as far as the election goes. I just can't, you know, it's so obvious. If everything was in reverse and Trump got elected, we know what would have happened. The BLM, Antifa, all the cities in America would be burning. And we know why the court didn't take it up. It's because they're afraid to take it up. And all your talk show hosts, you're spot on, but nobody's listening. I really worried that things are going to get out of hand. So I thank you for everything you're doing.
Look, Rick, look what happened to Josh Hawley, the senator from Missouri, who was the first guy to say he was going to challenge the results and cause a debate to take place tomorrow. I mean, did you see what happened? He tweeted out that the Antifa came to his house and was screaming and yelling, and he said they were intimidating his wife and his baby daughter. He was back home in Missouri, and Antifa just showed up at his house. You're right. I think the Supreme Court was intimidated, not just by Antifa and you know, radicals, but they just don't want to be shunned in polite society by taking up the challenge, Texas v. Pennsylvania. But I mean, Trump went to the mat to get those 3 people appointed to the Supreme Court, especially Kavanaugh. And what's their response? They just look the other way. They pulled a Pontius Pilate. They washed their hands. Oh, they didn't say bring us Barabbas. They said bring us Biden. That was it. It was, how pitiful are they? And Charlie Baker is calling it, Charlie Parker is calling it an affront to democracy, what Trump is doing and the Republicans are doing. What about an affront to decency, paying all these people all this money when we have the highest unemployment rate in the country in the private sector? We have the highest nursing home death rate in the country. We have the 3rd highest overall death rate in the country. That's an affront to decency. I'm Howie Carr.
Congratulations, New England. You did it. You made it through 2 months of torturous, nonstop, ear-jarring, teeth-clenching, blood pressure-raising radio noise. Those nerve-grating Matthews carols are now just a distant memory, echoing through the canyons of your mind with no sugary aftertaste. But it's a whole new year, and we've come up with whole new ways to annoy you. For example, remember those Matthews carols you thought were just a distant memory echoing through the canyons of your mind? Well, guess what? They're now and forevermore sitting fat, dumb, and happy on the video portion of our wicked awesome website, MatthewsBrothers.com. But they're not the only videos we have out there. We also have videos on such useful topics as understanding condensation, how to properly install one of our windows, and even a video on how to get the sash back into the frame once you've accidentally removed it and there's a storm coming and the factory is closed and your wife is yelling at you to fix it now. We even got one of those. You can learn more about our wicked awesome windows and doors, but only at Better Lumber Yards and Window Professionals or on the web at MatthewsBrothers.com. Matthews Brothers with 1 T, America's oldest window manufacturer.
President Trump is clearly ethically unfit and intellectually unprepared to be the president of the United States. And I support Chairwoman. In the coming weeks, the House will hold hearings. Congresswoman Harris, Congressman Senator Harris. He's our president, and I would rather he not be taking something that has not been approved, especially in his age group and in his, shall we say, weight group, what is morbidly obese, they say. So completely inappropriate in so many ways that it's almost a given. It's like a child who comes in with mud on their pants or something. That's the way it is. They're outside playing. That's what he comes in with doggy do on his shoes, and everybody who works with him has that on their shoes too. But I only will do that if you tell me that this legislation is worthy of George Kirby's name. This moment of national anguish.
Hair loss is not one of life's more enjoyable experiences. If you're looking to fill in your hairline or reverse years of hair loss, DiStefano Hair Restoration will create a result that will be a transformative experience. The result of my IGT procedure was quite remarkable. I now have fuller, thicker hair, so I can even wear it a bit longer. There are a few major decisions I've made in my life that I wish I did sooner. My hair restoration is number one. It was by far one of the best moves I've ever made. My hair looks awesome, and the confidence from having a full head of hair again has left me feeling great. I used to look in the mirror and dreaded seeing my ever-increasing bald spot. Now when I look in the mirror, I see the new me with a full head of thick hair. For information on how to make the same choice I did, go to hairman.com/Howie. What are you waiting for? More hair to fall out? Get the hair you've always wanted. Hairman.com/Howie. I've seen a lot of Anchor cupcakes in my day. Here are some of the latest network nitwits.
And he says, if I'm elected president, I will push for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on all members of Congress. Correct me, there already are term limits, so what does he mean?
And what are we hearing in the background? Is that shelling?
No, Katie, you're actually hearing that from here in Jerusalem, and it's actually fireworks going off right behind me.
We're in our tribes, we're in our corners most of our lives. I think we just heard some gunshots. Should we listen to that for a second, control room? So that's not gunshots? Okay. Ivanka is not the second lady. She is actually, I don't think she deserves this position. She's actually a senior advisor to the president. So the idea that he would demean her specifically in that way, he shouldn't talk about the first lady that way. We aren't all here to make salads for men. It's disgusting.
I mean, I'm presuming he was talking about Karen Pence when he said second lady.
I'm sorry. Not Montana. I'm talking about never mind.
Yeah, no,
Ignore me.
I mean, that's
I was getting Montana and North Dakota confused because, I don't know, I just was.
This is Charlie Baker.
Hey everybody, Charlie Baker here.
And these are his friends.
I got a text message the other day from a friend of mine who is no fan of most of what I've done over the course of the past 10 months.
In the world of Charlie Baker and his friends, the real world of panic porn, political leaders cannot survive without absolute power. And the public can't be expected to blindly follow orders without first hearing a made-up story.
And he was texting me from the hospital during a moment when he wasn't on a machine. And he got it at an event where no one wore masks. And he said, now that I have it, I get how brutal this can be.
It's a confusing, nonsensical, follow-the-science world, but it's the only world they know.
And honestly, I'm scared to death, not just for me, but for my family.
And they're the only friends Charlie Baker has.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
I just told you about what happened to Josh Hawley, the Republican senator, the freshman from Missouri who defeated Claire McCaskill. And he's the first Republican who broke the wall of rhino silence in the Senate and said he was going to challenge the election returns tomorrow. Now there's like 15 at least, maybe more Republicans that are going to challenge what's going to happen tomorrow when they present the Electoral College results for certification. So last night, a mob went to his house in suburban D.C. while he was back in Missouri. His wife and kids were there. And he sent out a tweet, tonight while I was in Missouri, Antifa scum, you know what that is, the word. I don't even know if you can say it. I saw some people were censoring it today. Came to our place in D.C. and threatened my wife and newborn daughter who can't travel. They screamed threats, vandalized, and tried to pound open our door. Would you care to guess how the Washington Post characterized this domestic terrorism? It was a peaceful vigil. Peaceful. It was a peaceful protest, I guess. But that was 2020 word. Now the new word is peaceful vigil. Here's what they say. Here's what the New York Times or the Washington Post said. The activists said they staged a peaceful vigil on Monday night to protest the GOP plan to object to Congress's certification of the presidential electoral vote this week. On the sidewalk in a Northern Virginia suburb, a group of 15 people chanted while holding candles and signs saying, "Protect democracy. Protect democracy." Really? Video, however, shows several protesters using megaphones to shout at Hawley's family inside. This is like what they did to Tucker Carlson. He's since moved out of D.C. and sold his place on Capitol Hill, I believe. They trespassed on Hawley's yard, went straight up to his front door, and argued with neighbors who asked them to be quiet. Good Lord. And so Hawley fired right back at the Post after this story appeared. They'll probably get a Pulitzer Prize for it, just like their story on the Russian collusion hoax. Washington Post this morning printing outright lies from the Antifa group, who now describe themselves as sweet angels. You screamed through bullhorns, shouted down my wife when she asked you to leave, vandalized property, pounded on our door, and terrorized neighbors. Good Lord. You know, this has got to end. You can't be intimidating people. This is, and you know, his constituents are the ones who pointed the guns at the Antifa mobs that came into through their gated community in St. Louis. The two lawyers, remember that? And the woke DA of St. Louis tried to indict them, and they threw out the charges. It's ridiculous. 844-500-4242. Limerick guy says, what about Rhino Romney scorning Trump for protesting the results of the totally bogus election results? Sickening. These rhinos are all having their own little primary for that, like 5% of the never Trumpers. There's Charlie Parker, you know, talking about the affront to democracy. There's Mitt Romney. Who's just jealous of Trump. There's Paul Ryan, who's doing the bidding of his masters, the Murdoch boys, because he's on the board of the Fox News Corporation. And then you have the guy in Maryland who's built like a bowling ball, Larry Hogan. I call him Larry Hogan Parker. Yeah, I listened to the morning show on DC radio, Chris Plant's show, WMAL, and they're buying airtime. The Maryland government or his campaign is buying airtime, and he says, wear the damn mask. No, you wear the damn mask, you little Jerry Nadler lookalike, only he's bald. God. What are these people? They're going to be never Trumpers in 2024 running in the Republican primary. Maybe not Charlie Parker, but Hogan is probably for sure, and Mitt Romney. Do these guys think there's any future in being a never Trumper in the Republican Party? How did it work out for Bill Kristol, by the way? How's his magazine doing? Oh, it's out of business. Oh, right. Mr. Garcia, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Mr. Garcia.
Hello, how you doing?
Good. Happy New Year.
I'm doing fantastic. I want to ask you a question. If McConnell, if he loses Georgia, I'm responsible for McConnell because he never signed the $2,000 money. He never campaigned to help the two Georgia senators.
Do you really think Mitch McConnell would really help out somebody? I mean, I don't. You know, I blow hot and cold on McConnell. You know, sometimes he's good, sometimes he's cocaine Mitch. But do you think he would sway a lot of votes, Mr. Garcia? Seriously?
No. He wanted to help his wife. His wife wanted, he hates Trump. I know his wife.
I don't know. He may hate. I don't know if he hates Trump. I think he just sort of resents Trump, like all those people, all those swamp creatures. I mean, this is a guy, McConnell. He's like Ryan. He started out as a congressional aide. Then he gets elected to Congress. Then he gets elected to the Senate. He spent his entire adult life in the swamp. He's not really from Kentucky. I mean, although he has a bit of a Southern accent, but he spent his entire life in the district, just like Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan's technically he's from Wisconsin, down on the Illinois line, but he's not really a Badger, is he? I mean, these people forget where they came from, and it's I don't know. I hope McConnell. I hope the Republicans win at least one of these seats, because you'd certainly rather have McConnell than Chuck Schumer. And incidentally, there's a story in the New York Post. I guess AOC was being interviewed, and they said, "Are you going to run against Schumer?" And she did not rule out running against Schumer in 2022 in the Democrat primary. And I don't know how soon the congressional reapportioning takes place, but some people are writing now that there's been so much population loss in New York that they may lose not one but two congressional seats this time around. And I would think that she would be a prime candidate to be, just because of where the losses are in the population are coming from, which is New York City. Upstate has already been depopulated long since. So I think there's a good chance that she might have herself with no choice but to run against Schumer, unless Schumer tries to intervene and save her seat so she doesn't run against him. But that would be a tough one, wouldn't it? I've thought about making that the poll question. Who would you vote for in a primary between Schumer and AOC? And you don't have the choice of blanking it, although I think that's what I would do if there was a primary in New York. How could you vote for either one of them? I mean, Schumer is just so cynical, so smarmy. But on the other hand, he's probably ultimately less of a danger than she is. But I could never vote for him, so I couldn't vote. It's like Charlie Parker running. I can't vote for Charlie Parker. I don't want to vote for the Democrat, because the Democrat would be just as bad. 844-500-4242. Let's play the cut. It's in the intro. But I really like this cut, and it explains the way I feel, and I think of the way probably most of you feel. This is what Trump was talking about what it's like when you lose an election. Cut 5.
You can lose, and that's acceptable. You lose, you go, and you go wherever you're going, and you go and say, maybe I'll do it again sometime, or maybe I won't, or I'll get back to life. But when you win in a landslide, and they steal it, and it's rigged, it's not acceptable.
It's not acceptable. That's the reality of it. It's not acceptable to have this happen. Okay, let's. How are these Cuomo cuts, Taylor? Are they any good?
I mean, they're decent. We might as well play them now since we mentioned them. But it's more of Chris Cuomo mocking Marco Rubio for his religious beliefs.
Oh, I was thinking about Governor Cuomo. Yeah,
Governor Cuomo.
Okay, mention. Yeah, let's play 7. Now, this is Chris Cuomo, and these guys, when it suits their purposes.
You were talking about his sibling, not his brother, right?
When they, excuse me. Yeah, right. We have to go by house rules, even though we're not in the house. We go by house rules. Sibling, his sibling. Yes. So here, when it suits their purposes, Democrats claim to be devoutly religious, and in the Cuomo's case, or the Kennedy's case, devoutly Catholic, right? But then, when the person that they don't like is a Catholic themselves, they can make sport of them, as Chris Cuomo does here with Marco Rubio. Cut 7.
The people, those who remain,
the Kevin McCarthy's, the people in the House, the people in the Senate, who are enabling this, who are complicit in it. You know, the man he called Lion Ted, the man he called Little Marco, Mr. Bible boy. You know, he's got a Bible quote for every moment. He just never speaks truth to power or acts on any of it in the interests of his own state or of this country. They remain.
Really? As opposed to Governor Cuomo, your sibling. He really has done wonders for his state. But now he's going to let the Bills open the stadium for the playoff game in a week or so. Oh, that's great. 6,700 people are going to be allowed to come in. I'm sure Andrew Cuomo will be there. He'll be one of them. Oh, and there'll be innumerable cutaways during the action to Andrew Cuomo enjoying the game with his latest girlfriend, if he can find one. All right. 844-500-4242. Let's play one more cut, the other cut from Chris Cuomo, cut 8.
I hope the 6th, and I want to make sure people understand this. I hope it goes bad. And not because I want any more drama. God knows we don't need it. But I want you to see the names. I want you to see the faces. And I want you to remember who stands up when they know it's wrong and says that they're doing what's right. They will be lying to you.
You mean like the Russian collusion hoax for 4 years? You knew it was BS. You knew it was wrong, but you still promoted it. You and everybody on your network and all the other networks and all the left-wing newspapers that gave themselves a Pulitzer Prize for reporting a story that had not a shred, not an iota of evidence. 844-500-4242. I'm Howie Carr.
Don't touch that dial. Howie Carr will be back after this.
Take advantage of HelloFresh's limited time New Year sale and hit refresh on your dinner routine in 2021. Get delicious recipes and fresh, pre-portioned ingredients sourced directly from growers and delivered to your door. With more than 23 weekly recipes, there's something for everyone to enjoy, including family-friendly, vegetarian, and low-calorie options. You can finally say goodbye to never-ending meal planning and prepping. HelloFresh recipe cards are easy to follow with simple steps and pictures to help you get meals on the table in as little as 20 minutes. Plus, by skipping the grocery store, you save up to 40% on groceries, cut food waste by 25%, and save time, so you can spend more time with your loved ones. See why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. For a limited time only, go to HelloFresh.com and use code Howie10 for 10 free meals, including free shipping during HelloFresh's New Year sale. This offer is available for a limited time only. That's code Howie10 for 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com.
Howie says it all the time. When it comes to bad politicians, Massachusetts takes the cake.
It is my honor to introduce to you your senator, my senator, Senator Elizabeth Warren.
I know who I am because of what my mother and my father told me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Governor Deval Patrick. And frankly, I got to tell you, with all the other things I'm worrying about, this is not one of them. We're going to be fine. I'm in charge.
Please join me in welcoming our own Senator Ed Markey.
The planet is running a fever. There are no emergency rooms for planets.
The very first African-American congresswoman to be elected from Massachusetts, Ayanna Pressley.
We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice.
Let's give them a great Waterloo reception. John Kerry.
The Yankees posted the Boston Red Sox logo and they sang Sweet Adeline.
Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally meant rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no-obligation investment guide about protecting your future with with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300.
Here's Donald Trump Jr. proving once and for all the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
They hate Trump more than they love America. For them to try to take a pandemic and seemingly hope that it comes here and kills millions of people so that they could end Donald Trump's streak of winning. I don't know if this is coronavirus or Trump derangement syndrome, but these people are infected badly. To make this guy into a religious scholar, that's like saying Jeffrey Dahmer is a purveyor of organic and fine exotic meats. Adam Schiff is basically the Jussie Smollett of Congress on steroids.
Children are off limits. Remember this one? If 13-year-old Barron Trump is not off limits, Hunter Biden sure as is not off limits.
Because my name is Trump, if I took $1.5 from China, not $1.5 billion like Hunter, their heads would explode.
Who's your favorite Democrat? Go ahead.
Mitt Romney, Gail. Mitt Romney's my favorite Democrat. How about that? Please, Lord, in my next life, make me a leftist so I can say anything and get away with it.
You gotta ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
The Howie Carr Show.
I mean, Rosa, first off, I saw this morning. I want to commend you on keeping your composure. And for our viewers who are not familiar with the totality of your reporting on coronavirus in Florida, I think maybe one of the reasons the governor might have been frustrated is that you have been a tireless questioner of Governor DeSantis, as Florida has had a number of issues with its coronavirus response, which might be part of the reason why he was being such an ass.
Who was that? Which I know it's
Breonna Keeler of CNN.
Okay, I don't know any of these people. I don't watch CNN, but. Could we go, Brianna? Can we go to the charts? I know you like to follow the data and follow the science. Why don't we look at the death rate in the Sunshine State of Florida versus your heroes?
Let's go to the videotape.
Exactly. You know, like New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts, the top 3 states for death rates. Or how about nursing homes? Massachusetts and New Jersey are first. New York would be first, but they finagled the statistics. By the way, they've got a new coronavirus chart, a daily coronavirus chart. They say it's viral now. You know what? The viral apparently killed off the part of the chart that tells you how many people are dead in the nursing homes, which I used to publish every day. I still got to try to find it. I can't find. Will you look for that tonight, Taylor? See if you can find it.
I'll put that on my list.
On the new coronavirus dashboard, I can't find it. I asked the Herald to try to find it. They couldn't find it either. It's funny. First the state did away with the daily demographic by age group death chart, because I was publishing it all the time. So were other people, and it was just pointing out that this is predominantly a killer of very, very old people. And I'm very sorry about that, but the vast majority of people haven't got to worry about dying from this. The vast majority. And so they did away with the demographic chart, but the demographic age group chart, but they left in the nursing home death chart. And now I can't find it. Maybe it's still there. Maybe I just can't find it.
So you're looking for the nursing home death chart?
Yes. Do you see it?
No. I'll look for it tonight.
Yeah. But they call it long-term care facilities too. But it seems to have gone the way of the age group death charts. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? That the charts they decide to get rid of. They like to have positive tests, though. What does a positive test mean? Especially if you're, asymptomatic. There's still 0 people dying under the age of 20 and very few under the age of 50, but 0 under the age of 20. And they want to shut down all these schools and keep them shut down. 919 says, is Governor Cuomo going to bring his sibling to the game? Oh, they're going to be going on for I think the Bills get a a pass, don't they? They don't have to play this weekend, I don't believe, in the wild card game. So they've got almost 2 weeks to make a big deal about how King Cuomo, Baby Doc, as Chris Plant calls him, has granted his serfs the right to some bread and circuses up in Buffalo. They're going to get to watch the game. Isn't that nice of Governor Cuomo to do that? So let's go out with some Governor Cuomo here this evening. Cut 23.
What's really infuriating, this is what happened to us in last spring. Learn the lesson.
What's the lesson? What's the lesson? You shut down the state and it didn't affect it. You still have the highest death rate of any place in the world. If New York was a country, they'd have a higher death rate than China, perhaps. Cut 24.
And it's time we stop. And it's time we become more competent. Government was competent. Government is supposed to be competent. Government leaders are supposed to be competent. They're not supposed to be about excuses.
Oh, boy.
And
talk about projection.
Apathy and bureaucracy.
Look in the mirror.
Why do we not have mandatory testing of everyone flying into this country?
Wait, isn't this the guy who didn't want to shut down the flights? Didn't he agree with Biden that it was racist and xenophobic to shut off the flights? Now he wants mandatory testing. You know what people are doing? They're flying into Jersey rather than the airports in New York City, and then they're having their help pick them up so that they can't track the Ubers back into the city. What a great system. I'm Howie Carr.
Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your